Chapter 2394. 1,000 years later. Divine Firmament Immortal Region, Qiankuan Academy. In the core area, a sword light sped over from afar. In the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of a cave abode and revealed itself. It was the Moonlight Sword Immortal. At that moment, the door of the cave abode opened, and a fairy-like woman walked out slowly. A snow-white butterfly was flying around her. It was Emo-Ching. The Moonlight Sword Immortal smiled when she saw Emo-Ching. She went up to her and said, "I heard that junior sister has been going to the Academy's communication pavilion to read some news about the Heaven Domain?" Emo-Ching nodded slightly, but didn't explain further. "Junior sister, why are you suddenly interested in the Heaven Domain?" The Moonlight Sword Immortal knew Emo-Ching's personality and didn't think much of it. "Nothing." Emo-Ching shook her head. "I'm just looking around to broaden my horizons." The Moonlight Sword Immortal knew that Emo-Ching wasn't telling the truth, but she didn't point it out. Her junior sister was obsessed with painting and cultivated in seclusion in the academy all year round. She rarely went out and never cared about the outside world. Now that she suddenly cared about the Heaven Domain, there must be a special reason. However, the Moonlight Sword Immortal couldn't figure it out. For 1,000 years, he had been paying close attention to the relationship between Yang Ruoxu and Emo-Ching. Logically speaking, Yang Ruoxu had reached the true self realm and entered the core area, so he was closer to Emo-Ching. But what disappointed him was that after observing for so long, the two of them had never contacted each other. They hadn't even seen each other. There was no sign of mutual affection. On the contrary, Yang Ruoxu was very close to an inner sect disciple called Chi Rainbow Infanta. They were quite close. This confused the Moonlight Sword Immortal. "Senior brother, is something the matter?" Emo-Ching didn't look at the Moonlight Sword Immortal. She just said softly, "If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first." The Moonlight Sword Immortal came back to her senses and took out a communication jade slip from her storage bag. She handed it to Emo-Ching and smiled. "Junior sister, you're going to the communication pavilion, right? I brought you the latest news. It's nothing big, just some immortal realm gatherings, like the Heavenly Peach Banquet." "Thank you, senior brother." Emo-Ching hesitated for a moment before accepting the jade slip. She immersed her divine sense into it and began browsing. After a while, Emo-Ching looked through all the information and a trace of disappointment flashed through her eyes. "Why is there no news from the Demon Domain?" Emo-Ching asked casually. "Infernal Domain?" The Moonlight Sword Immortal pondered for a while and said, "The demon territory is in chaos every day. Blood is everywhere, and there is fighting and killing. It has always been like this. The biggest thing that's happened in the demon realm recently was probably the death of the supreme true demon Yen Zue and the others 1,000 years ago." Emo-Ching's eyes lit up when she heard this. She nodded. She had heard of this long ago. The Moonlight Sword Immortal continued, "I heard that a monster was born in the demon domain. His name is Araki Takashi, and he founded the Heaven Baron sect. When he stepped into the True One realm, he attracted the 99 heavenly tribulations and annihilated a 1,000,000-strong demon army. Even the supreme true demon Yen Zue and the other 3 experts on the true demon ranking died at his hands." Emo-Ching suddenly corrected him. "It's not the 99 heavenly tribulations. There's a 10th one." "Huh," the Moonlight Sword Immortal sneered. "Junior sister, you're still too inexperienced. This kind of news is obviously fake. It's too ridiculous. Since ancient times, there have been countless geniuses. Even the great emperors of ancient times could only attract 99 heavenly tribulations at most. There's no such thing as a 10th tribulation. This goes against common sense. It's most likely an exaggeration by busybodies. After word of mouth, it's getting more and more ridiculous. I reckon that the 99 heavenly tribulations this person attracted might not even be true." Emo-Ching frowned slightly and seemed a little unhappy. "I believe it's true." The Moonlight Sword Immortal saw a trace of displeasure in Emo-Ching's eyes, but he didn't think much of it. He thought that she was angry because of his words. On the contrary, the Moonlight Sword Immortal was secretly delighted. Before this, Emo-Ching had always been indifferent to him. Not only did she not smile, she had never even been angry with him. Now, seeing that Emo Qing seemed a little unhappy, the Moonlight Sword Immortal felt that the distance between them seemed to be closer. The Moonlight Sword Immortal smiled and explained, "Junior sister, what I just said is only one of the reasons." According to the news, this Araki Takashi attracted 99 heavenly tribulations and destroyed the million-strong demon army. No one survived. Since they're all dead, who spread this news? Moreover, Araki Takashi's tribulation means that he just stepped into the true first realm. How could he kill 4 experts on the true demon ranking? There's even a supreme true demon among them. Junior sister, why don't you ask the others? How many of them will believe this? Emo Qing said, "This is just your speculation. You haven't seen him, how do you know his abilities?" Ha! The Moonlight Sword Immortal laughed. "If this Araki Takashi really dares to appear in front of me, I'll definitely destroy his lies and destroy his legend." The more Emo Qing heard, the more unhappy she became. "Senior brother, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave," Emo Qing said coldly. Without waiting for the Moonlight Sword Immortal's reply, she left first and sped in the direction of the inner sect. The Moonlight Sword Immortal was stunned. Her face was dark and she couldn't recover from her shock. She looked at Emo Qing's back and was confused. She didn't know how she had angered this junior sister with just a few words. The Moonlight Sword Immortal took a deep breath and looked at the void in the distance. She sent a message with her divine perception. "Follow her and see where she's going." The space slightly shook as a figure flashed and followed Fairy Emo Qing from afar. Inner sect of the Academy. Within the cave abode, Su Zimo opened his eyes and heaved out a long breath. After 1,000 years of cultivation, he had made another breakthrough and reached the peak of Sky Origin Realm Level 4. This cultivation speed had far surpassed that of cultivators of the same level. For example, Infanta Chi Hong and Lu Ping had just reached the second level of Sky Origin Realm. However, Su Zimo could clearly sense that the cultivation of Sky Origin Realm was much more difficult. However, such seclusion cultivation could only allow him to break through a single realm at most before he got stuck at a bottleneck. He had been stuck at the peak of Sky Origin Realm Level 4 for more than 100 years. Su Zimo stood up and walked to the side of a spirit garden not far away. Looking at the carefree tree that he planted 1,000 years ago, a look of disappointment flashed through his eyes. For the past 1,000 years, he would take care of this carefree tree every once in a while. However, after such a long time, there were still no signs of the carefree tree reviving. Right then, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. He touched his storage bag and took out a jade talisman. This jade talisman was the one he obtained from the Thearcha's tomb back then. All these years, there was no movement from the jade talisman. But now, the jade talisman in Su Zimo's palm was gradually heating up and emitting a green glow. Chapter 2395. Su Zimo was filled with anticipation when he saw the jade talisman in his hand emitting a green glow. According to Yunju, the jade talisman was related to the 3 pure jade manuals. Since the Supreme Purity Jade Manuals and Supreme Purity Jade Manuals already belong to each other, the jade talisman should be related to the final Pure Jade Manual. Although there was only one manual, it was enough to make countless cultivators go crazy. For Su Zimo, obtaining the Pure Jade Manual would not only help Qinglian's true body improve, Wu Dao's true body could also use the Spirit Potency art to browse through the Pure Jade Manual and refine it, continuing to temper the true body of Wu Dao. Right then, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat as he sensed someone outside his cave abode. Su Zimo did not want to bother about it at first. However, he could not help but be puzzled when he saw senior sister Emo Qing. After hesitating for a moment, he decided to go out and meet her. Senior sister Emo Qing cultivated in seclusion in the inheritance ground all year round and rarely came out. Now that she came to his cave abode, there must be something important. Su Zimo placed the jade talisman in his storage bag and opened the door of his cave abode to welcome her. Senior sister. Su Zimo cupped his fists and greeted her. Emo Qing sized up Su Zimo and nodded slightly. You've broken through to the 4th level of the Heavenly Origin Realm. Your cultivation speed is very fast. Su Zimo blinked and did not understand what Emo Qing wanted to say. He politely declined and said, "Senior sister, do you want to have a seat in the cave abode?" Emo Qing nodded. Without waiting for Su Zimo to react, she walked into his cave abode, leaving him with the view of her back view. Su Zimo froze for a moment, completely confused. He quickly came back to his senses and hurried after her. Emo Qing entered the cave abode and sat down. Su Zimo brewed a pot of fragrant tea. The two of them sat opposite each other and sipped the tea slowly without saying a word. After a while, Su Zimo did not speak and so did Emo Qing. The atmosphere was a little weird and awkward. Emo Qing was calm and composed, as if she didn't feel the strange atmosphere at all, nor did she feel any awkwardness. Su Zimo was losing his cool. Based on his understanding of this senior sister, it was not difficult for her to sit like this for a year and a half without saying a word. The movement of the jade talisman in the storage bag was becoming more and more obvious. Su Zimo could not wait that long. "Senior sister, is something the matter?" Su Zimo asked tentatively. Emo Qing said faintly, "Oh, nothing much. I just came to see if you have any doubts about your cultivation. If there is, I can answer it for you." "Not yet." Su Zimo didn't understand why senior apprentice sister Emo Qing was suddenly so concerned about him. Thinking about it, the two of them had been through a lot in the Avicii Hell, and they had joined the same sect and had the same master. It was normal for senior sister Emo Qing to be concerned about him. However, he felt that something was off. This didn't seem to be senior sister Emo Qing's style. Su Zimo wanted to send senior sister Emo Qing away as soon as possible, so he asked a few questions about cultivation. Emo Qing answered them one by one. However, after a few questions, Emo Qing still had no intention of leaving. "Senior sister?" Su Zimo asked again. "Are there any other questions?" Emo Qing asked. No. Su Zimo said hurriedly. Emo Qing nodded and said, "In that case, I'll go back first. If you have any questions, you can come to the place of inheritance to find me." Su Zimo agreed. Emo Qing walked out of the cave abode and asked casually, "By the way, 1,000 years ago, a big event happened in the demon's domain. Have you heard of it?" "Demon's domain?" Su Zimo raised his eyebrows slightly. Emo Qing said, "It has something to do with saving our fellow Taoist Araki Takashi. I heard that he transcended the tribulation and attracted the 10th tribulation. He also killed the supreme true demon and millions of demonic cultivators." "I heard about it." Su Zimo nodded. Emo Qing asked again, "Have you been in contact with him all these years?" Su Zimo was stunned. Emo Qing looked at Su Zimo and said, "Junior brother, I know that you have a good relationship. Otherwise, you wouldn't have given him a treasure like the prison-suppressing cauldron. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone that you have been in contact with him. The only difference between immortals and demons is the cultivation method. The immortals' domain also has cruel and violent people who have committed heinous crimes. The demons' domain also has righteous and righteous people. What's more, fellow Taoist Araki Takashi also saved us." Emo Qing said a lot, but Su Zimo was mostly focused on the jade talisman in his storage bag and didn't pay much attention. Su Zimo said ambiguously, "Yes, we have some connections." "How is he?" Emo Qing asked softly. After a pause, Emo Qing explained, "After all, he saved us before. I haven't heard from him for a long time, so I'm a little worried." "He's fine. He's been in seclusion," Su Zimo said as he observed the jade talisman in his storage bag. At this moment, the green light emitted by the jade talisman was getting brighter and brighter, containing a strange energy fluctuation. Emo Qing was about to ask something when Su Zimo suddenly interrupted her. "Senior sister, I have something to deal with here. I'll ask you about cultivation next time." "Okay." Although Emo Qing didn't have much experience in the world and rarely traveled outside, she could tell that Su Zimo wanted her to leave. Emo Qing nodded and turned to leave. When she first arrived, she was still a little unhappy. But this time, she felt an inexplicable joy in her heart. Seeing that Emo Qing had left, Su Zimo closed the cave abode and reactivated the immortal array around the cave abode. Then, he took out the jade talisman from his storage bag. At this moment, the jade talisman shattered and burst out with a strong force. It tore through the void and directly pulled Su Zimo into it. At the same time, in the secret chamber on the top floor of the secret pavilion, Elder Xian seemed to have sensed something and suddenly opened his eyes. He looked in the direction of the inner sect of the academy and closed his eyes again to rest. In a palace deep in the clouds of the academy, the patriarch of the academy also opened his eyes. His eyes were deep and shone with divine light. After pondering for a while, the divine light in the patriarch's eyes gradually disappeared and he regained his calmness. This jade talisman seemed to be a teleportation jade talisman. After it shattered, Su Zimo was pulled into a spatial tunnel. After a moment of dizziness, Su Zimo fell out of the spatial tunnel. He quickly stabilized himself and spread out his divine sense, slowly descending from midair. This seemed to be a secret realm with its own universe and was clearly different from the outside world. Not far ahead, there was a palace made of gigantic stones. It was dozens of feet tall and had a majestic aura. It was ancient and heavy and was surrounded by a faint mist. All of a sudden, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. As soon as he arrived, the rift not far away cracked open, and a few figures ran out from it. Su Zimo swept his gaze. Including him, a total of 9 people had descended into this secret realm at the same time. Chapter 2396. Of the other 8, 6 were men and 2 were women. They were dressed differently and were clearly from different places. Su Zimo's mind raced and instantly understood the logic behind it. The jade talisman that he obtained from the emperor's tomb was most likely something similar to a teleportation jade talisman. There were a total of 9 of them that were connected to this secret realm. As for the legendary Jade Purity Jade Scroll, it should be within this secret realm. However, there was only one Jade Scroll and it was unknown who among the 9 of them would be able to obtain it. Su Zimo's spirit consciousness swept across the 8 cultivators right away. Among the 8 cultivators, the ones with the highest cultivation realms were a man and a woman. Both of them were level 7 heavenly immortals. The man wore a long golden robe and a crown on his head. Exuding a noble aura, he raised his head slightly and looked straight ahead, as though he did not care about the other 8. The other woman stood in midair with an indifferent expression. Her appearance was stunning and elegant. In terms of aura, she was not weaker than the golden-robed man at all. The man and woman inadvertently exuded an aura as though they were unparalleled emperors who ruled the world with an innate might that looked down on all living beings. Apart from the man and woman, there was a girl in white who looked like she was 16 or 17 years old. She had an oval face with a hint of childishness. She had bright eyes and white teeth, exuding an aura of spirituality. The girl in white was a level 6 heavenly immortal, second only to the man and woman before her. Behind her was a golden-haired man and a pale, skinny man. Both of them were level 5 heavenly immortals. Apart from Su Zimo, who was a level 4 heavenly immortal, there was another level 4 heavenly immortal. Of the remaining 2, one was a level 3 heavenly immortal. The other was a boy in a short blue robe. He was only a level 1 heavenly immortal and had a timid expression. His gaze was evasive, as though he felt uneasy and fearful when he saw the other 8 in this secret realm. I'm Hedan of the Azure Sea sect from the Jade Heaven Immortal region. Greetings, fellow Taoists. The cultivator, who was also a level 4 heavenly immortal like Su Zimo, was the first to break the silence and greeted everyone with a smile. I'm Chi Yu of the Sky Reaching sect from the Crimson Heaven Immortal region. The level 3 heavenly immortal cupped his fists and said as well, those who could obtain this kind of jade talisman must be extraordinary. The sects that Hedan and Chi Yu belonged to were extremely famous celestial sects that were no weaker than the Heaven and Earth Academy and the Flying Celestial sect. As for Hedan and Chi Yu, they were the youngest geniuses in their respective sections. However, in this mystic realm, rank 3 and 4 heavenly immortals were not considered outstanding. Apart from the blue-clothed boy, Hedan and Chi Yu did not have the confidence to deal with anyone else present. That level 4 heavenly immortal who looks like an azure-robed scholar looks completely ordinary. He doesn't seem to be a threat. Dan and Chiyu noticed Su Zimo at the same time. A thought flashed through their minds as they made a judgment. Divine Firmament Celestial Region, Universe Academy, Su Zimo. Su Zimo added. No one reacted. There were more than 100,000 inner sect disciples in the Heaven and Earth Academy. Although a rank 4 heavenly immortal like Su Zimo was quite famous in the Divine Firmament Celestial Region, there had not been any gatherings in the 9 great celestial realms. Naturally, the other celestial realms had not heard of his name. Unless it was someone like Yun Ting, who had been invincible since he was born. He was also famous in the 9 Firmament Celestial Region. Jade Firmament Celestial Region, Nyahan. The skinny level 5 heavenly immortal said lightly. You can call me Jinyu. The golden-haired man who was also a level 5 heavenly immortal said slowly with a smirk. Although this Jinyu hit it well, Su Zimo's senses were extremely sharp. He could sense a trace of demonic aura from this person. If he was not wrong, this person should not be a human. Green Firmament Celestial Region, Lin Luo. The white-clothed girl's eyes sparkled as she spoke. Hearing the words Green Firmament Celestial Region, Su Zimo deliberately looked at the white-clothed girl. According to Feng Kentian, the human emperor and his wife were in the Green Firmament Celestial Region. Other than the blue-clothed boy whose cultivation was too low, no one cared. Only the man and woman with the highest cultivation had not spoken. My surname is Ing. The man with a crown on his head and a golden robe spoke slowly, as if he was unwilling to say another word. However, these 3 words made the faces of Dan, Chiyu, and the others change. The surname Ing was extremely rare. It was only found in the Purple Firmament Celestial Region. More importantly, the surname Ing was the surname of the Celestial Emperor. In addition, this man looked very young. This person's identity was obvious. Imperial Prince Ing Tian? Dan exclaimed in surprise. Among the Zishao Celestial Emperor's children, the youngest was less than 5,000 years old. He was known as the most talented genius in the Purple Firmament Celestial Region in the past 1,000,000 years. There were even rumors that when Ing Tian stepped into the True Self realm and formed his Tao fruit, he would definitely attract the 99 heavenly tribulations. The Zishao Celestial Emperor gave him the word, Tian. This showed his love and expectation for his youngest son. In the 9 Firmament Celestial Region, there were not many people with the surname Ing. He was the only one who dared to call himself Ing Tian. Ing Tian's reputation was no less than Yun Ting's. Hearing someone mention his background, Ing Tian smiled faintly. He seemed to be satisfied with the reactions of Dan, Chiyu, and the others. Su Zimo nodded secretly. The reason why Ing Tian's body emitted such a powerful aura was because of the Celestial Emperor's blood flowing in his veins. If this person was the Imperial Prince, then the woman beside him who had the same aura as him was probably not simple either. At this moment, Ing Tian glanced at the woman beside him and said with a smile, Chanchen, wait until I get this jade book of 3 purities and read it for a month. Then I will give it to you as a gift. How about that? The woman did not seem to appreciate it. She smiled coldly and said, It's not certain who will get it. Ha! Ing Tian laughed loudly and said, There are only 9 people here. Other than you, who can resist one of my palms? Who dares to touch what I want? Ing Tian did not hide the threat and murderous intent in his tone. Qian. At this moment Dan's heart skipped a beat. She asked instinctively, Fellow cultivator, are you from the Nephrite Immortal Region? I am Lang Qian. The woman said faintly. Dan, Chiyu, and the others were shocked. Imperial Princess. The surname Lang was similar to the surname Ing. It was extremely rare and was the surname of an immortal emperor. The name of the Nephrite Immortal Region was related to this surname. Imperial Princess Lang Qian was also a monstrous genius in the Nephrite Immortal Region in recent years. She was the pride of the heavens. Dan, Chiyu, and the others looked at each other and were secretly shocked. Who would have thought that there would be an Imperial Prince and an Imperial Princess among the 9 people here? Not to mention that both of them were level 7 heavenly immortals and had the highest cultivation level among the 9 people. The immortal emperor's blood in their bodies alone made them almost invincible among their peers. Even the initially arrogant Jin Yu frowned slightly, as if he was afraid of the consequences. Among the 9 people, the only ones who could remain calm were Su Zimo and the young girl from the Nephrite immortal region, Lin Luo. You are all fated to be here. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded in the secret realm. It was exactly the same as the voice of the remnant spirit in the emperor's tomb. Unsurprisingly, the owner of this voice should be the immortal emperor who had fallen in the emperor's tomb. Up ahead is the clear jade hall. There are some rare treasures that I have collected in there. I will give them to you. As for who can get the clear jade book, it will depend on your fate. Chapter 2397. As soon as he finished speaking, the clouds around the jade clear hall in front of them gradually dispersed, and the door slowly opened. Imperial Prince Ying Tian moved and was the first to rush toward the jade clear hall. Princess Lang Qianqian followed closely behind at an extremely fast speed. The remaining 7 people, including Su Zimo, also moved and rushed toward the jade clear hall. The hall was extremely spacious and could be seen at a glance. 9 balls of light of different sizes and shapes floated in the air. The entire hall was filled with extremely rich vitality. Heaven-burning immortal herb. Sun essence fire vine. Heavenly net immortal dew. Deep-sea ginseng. The eyes of Ying Tian and the others lit up. Su Zimo had read many ancient books of the upper realm during his secluded cultivation over the years. He could recognize 7 or 8 of the 9 balls of light in front of him. These treasures were all plants and were extremely rare. Many of them had even gone extinct. Whether it was refined into pills or consumed by oneself, they had unimaginable benefits. Any one of the 9 treasures was probably not inferior to the 7 dawn immortal ginseng. Ying Tian turned around and turned into a ray of divine light, speeding toward the heaven-burning immortal herb closest to him. Seeing that there was no hope of getting the heaven-burning immortal herb, Lang Qianqian decisively changed her direction and flew toward another ball of light. Among the 9 rare treasures, the intensity and range of the light emitted by each of them was different. For example, the heaven-burning immortal herb emitted the strongest light, had the largest range, and was the rarest. It was more precious than the other 8 treasures. That was why it was targeted by Ying Tian. When the other cultivators saw that Lang Qianqian had changed her target, no one wanted to compete with Ying Tian. They all flew toward the treasures they chose. Jingshao Immortal Realms Jin Yu chose the Sun Essence Fire Vine. Jade Firmament Immortal Realms He Dan chose the Deep Sea Ginseng. Glaring at one of the 9 treasures, Su Zimo channeled his body and sped over. This treasure was like a withered yellow branch without any vitality. The light it emitted was also extremely weak. It was the most inconspicuous of the 9 treasures. However, this branch gave Qinglian's true body a strange feeling. She wanted to devour and refine it. It was similar to when she saw the carefree tree. The 11th grade Qinglian had almost grown to its peak. Anything that caught its eye and wanted to devour was definitely not ordinary. Su Zimo came to the side of the withered branch and was about to reach out his hand to take it back. On the other side, a sharp and cold aura suddenly broke through the void and pierced toward Su Zimo's palm. Apart from Su Zimo, there was someone else who wanted this branch. The attacker had held back and only stabbed at Su Zimo's palm, as if trying to force him to back off. Su Zimo ignored him and continued to grab the branch. The cold light descended, but Su Zimo remained unmoved. He gently flicked his finger and used it to block the cold light. At the same time, a heaven-slaying sword chi burst forth from his fingertip. Clang! The cold light collided with his finger and the sound of metal clashing could be heard. Su Zimo's finger was intact and he successfully kept the branch in his bag. At the same time, he looked at the other party. The attacker was Lin Luo from the Green Firmament Immortal Domain. The 2 of them fought for an extremely short time and separated immediately. However, just now, the 2 of them were very close to each other. This young girl named Lin Luo seemed a little familiar. Thank you for letting me win. Su Zimo kept the branch and nodded slightly at Lin Luo. Lin Luo's expression was calm. She did not seem to care that she did not get the branch and did not bother with Su Zimo. Instead, she turned and rushed towards another treasure. As for the blue-robed boy who was only a level 1 heaven immortal, he seemed to know that his combat strength was the weakest among the 9 of them. Therefore, he was extremely cautious and chose a treasure that no one was fighting for and kept it in his bag. In the blink of an eye, the 9 treasures had been divided among Su Zimo and the others. In the main hall, the 9 of them were on guard against each other. They restrained themselves and did not make a big fuss. A wall in front of the main hall suddenly rose slowly and another main hall appeared. There were also 9 balls of light floating in it. Su Zimo and the others did not hesitate and rushed into the main hall in front of them. The main hall was filled with a strong medicinal fragrance. The 9 balls of light nurtured immortal pills and spiritual medicines. King-grade bone forging elixir. King-grade marrow cleansing elixir. The 9 balls of light floating in the air were all king-grade immortal pills. After so many years, they had not decayed and were emitting such a strong fragrance. In the upper world, immortal pills and spiritual medicines could be roughly divided into black grade, earth grade, heaven grade, true grade, king grade, and emperor grade. The higher the grade, the rarer and harder it was to refine. The 9 immortal pills in the hall were all of the king grade. In the 9 firmament immortal domain, there was a immortal domain that was best at refining immortal pills and spiritual medicines. The stage 3 heavenly immortal, Chi Yu, was from the immortal domain. When he saw the 9 king-grade immortal pills floating in the air, his eyes turned red with excitement. Some of the 9 immortal pills had been lost even in the immortal domain. Su Zimo could clearly sense that Lin Luo, who was not far away, was breathing heavily when she saw one of the immortal pills. She seemed to be extremely nervous. Before the others could make a move, Lin Luo took the lead and rushed toward one of the king-grade immortal pills. It's the 9 Orifices Yang Restoration Pill. Ying Tian's eyes lit up as he stared at the brightest immortal pill among the 9 immortal pills. This immortal pill was also what Lin Luo wanted. The 9 Orifices Yang Restoration Pill. When Lang Qianqian heard these words, she was also tempted. Seeing that the princes and princesses were eyeing the immortal pill, the others did not dare to touch it. They all made a move to snatch the other immortal pills. Ying Tian's figure disappeared. He arrived before Lin Luo and reached out to grab the 9 Orifices Yang Restoration Pill. There was still some distance between Lin Luo and Ying Tian. However, Lin Luo suddenly used a mysterious movement technique and took a step forward diagonally. She appeared behind Ying Tian in an instant. Su Zimo's expression changed. He had seen Lin Luo's movement technique through Wu Dao's eyes with the help of the spirit potency art. When the 9 by 9 heavenly tribulation descended, the black-robed woman with the horsetail whisk had used the same movement technique. However, the black-robed woman's movement technique was obviously more skillful and mysterious than Lin Luo's. Lin Luo drew her sword and slashed at Ying Tian's palm. Ying Tian snorted and did not dodge. Instead, he flipped his palm and a huge heavy sword appeared in his hand. He swung it backward. It looked casual, but it was filled with ferocious power. Lin Luo's expression changed slightly. The long sword in her hand was almost knocked away by Ying Tian's heavy sword. There was a difference of 1 level between the 2 of them to begin with. Lin Luo was completely at a disadvantage in terms of strength. Ying Tian wielded his heavy sword and attacked. Although Lin Luo's swordsmanship was exquisite, she was completely unable to block Ying Tian's attacks. The reason why she was able to remain undefeated and contend with Ying Tian was because of her mysterious footwork. On the other side, Lang Qianqian had arrived. She wanted to take advantage of the moment when Ying Tian and Lin Luo were fighting to obtain the 9 Orifices Yang Restoration Pill. Ying Tian laughed loudly and took out a round cauldron with 3 handles. He threw it at Lang Qianqian. Ying Tian was fighting against 2 people alone. He was not afraid at all. Instead, he became more and more courageous. The Emperor-grade Celestial Pill immediately triggered a chaotic battle between the 3 strongest geniuses among the 9 participants. Chapter 2398. It was a chaotic battle between the princes and princesses, as well as a stage 6 heaven immortal. Naturally, no one was willing to get involved. Not to mention that no one present was a match for the princes and princesses. Even if someone could defeat the two of them, they might not dare to hurt them. The descendants of celestial emperors had powerful bloodlines and noble statuses. No one knew how many powerful trump cards they had hidden. Hidan said, "This Lin Luo is indeed quite capable. Her cultivation level is lower than Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian's, but she can still contend with them. She's not simple. She's from the green firmament celestial realm. She's so capable at such a young age. She's probably the daughter of those two," Jinyu said. He seemed to have guessed Lin Luo's identity. "I know," Chiyu said. "No wonder this Lin Luo is so determined to get the 9 Orifices Yang Restoration Pill. She's even willing to fight against the princes and princesses. She wants to save her father." Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. Although Jinyu and the others did not say it explicitly, it was already the same as what he had guessed. At this moment, the situation on the battlefield changed. Ying Tian laughed loudly and said, "Qianqian, there's only one 9 Orifices Yang Restoration Pill. It's not a problem for either of us to get it. However, we can't let the Lin family's servant take it away. Otherwise, our emperor clan will lose face." Although Lang Qianqian did not say anything, she nodded slightly. The two of them had a tacit understanding. They changed their target at the same time and attacked Lin Luo together. Lin Luo would not be able to win against either Ying Tian or Lang Qianqian. She could only try her best to contend with them. Now, the princes and princesses were attacking together. Lin Luo was under a lot of pressure, and she was instantly in danger. Their goal was clear. They wanted to suppress Lin Luo first. Then, they would decide who would get the 9 Orifices Yang Restoration Pill. "Lin Luo, give up." Ying Tian sneered. "Even if you get the 9 Orifices Yang Restoration Pill, you won't be able to save Lin Zhan." He forcefully descended to the lower realm and violated the rules, so he suffered a backlash. Even if he consumed the 9 Orifices Yang Restoration Pill, it would be useless. Your Lin clan is from the lower realm and has a humble background. To be able to develop to this level is already the peak. You should have declined long ago. This was a verbal attack. Once he panicked, he would definitely reveal his flaws. Ying Tian was clearly holding back and had not used his full strength. That was why he had chosen such an easy method. The Jade Clarity Jade Book had not appeared yet. He did not know what would happen. Naturally, Ying Tian would not use his full strength. Lin Luo was too young and didn't have enough experience. After being scolded by Ying Tian, she couldn't help but worry about her father. This fluctuation was fleeting and difficult to detect. However, Lin Luo was facing two of the most talented geniuses among all the celestial immortals. Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian both caught the abnormal fluctuation in Lin Luo's mind at the same time. Their eyes brightened, and divine light flashed. They erupted with fierce attacks, wanting to take this opportunity to completely suppress Lin Luo. "Lin Luo has lost." Chiyu shook his head slightly and said, "She's still too young. Plus, she was too worried. That's why Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian seized the opportunity. If you feel sorry for her, you can go up and help." Hidan chuckled. Chiyu said coldly, "Why would I go up? Do I want to die? Not to mention me, even if the 7 of us joined forces, we would not be a match for Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian." Sush. Just as Chiyu and the others were discussing, a white shadow pierced through the air and rushed into the battlefield. Like a long spear, it heavily hit the side of Lang Qianqian's sword and knocked it out of her body. Following that, the white shadow suddenly drooped down like a spiritual snake and coiled around Ying Tian's heavy sword. Everyone was shocked and hurriedly looked over. The so-called white shadow was a snow-white strand of hair. The other end was connected to a jade-green horsetail whisk. The person who attacked was the 4th stage celestial that they had almost ignored. Was this person crazy? How dare he interfere in the battle between the crown prince and princess? Hidan, Chiyu and the others looked at Su Zimo with strange expressions. It was as if Su Zimo would be in big trouble in the next moment. He was just a fourth-stage celestial. If Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian wanted to kill him, he would not even last 3 rounds. On the other hand, Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian on the battlefield had a different feeling, because their attack just now was completely neutralized by Su Zimo. The 3,000 strands of hair formed into a long spear and hit Lang Qianqian's sword at the weakest point of the sword. Lang Qianqian's strength was instantly shattered. On the other hand, Ying Tian's swordsmanship was bold and powerful. The 3,000 strands of hair turned from hard to soft and coiled around Ying Tian's heavy sword, preventing it from exerting its strength. It was just a horsetail whisk, but in the hands of a fourth-stage celestial, the combination of hard and soft could produce such a huge impact. With this slight delay, Lin Luo had already broken free from the two's encirclement and escaped from her predicament. She now had a chance to breathe. Ying Tian said, "I don't know where this dog came from. How dare you interfere in our matter? I think you're tired of living. You go and get the pill. I'll stop them." Su Zimo transmitted his message to Lin Luo with his divine sense. At the same time, he held the horsetail whisk in his right hand and the 3 jade rui in his left hand and rushed toward Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian. Since he had confirmed Lin Luo's identity, Su Zimo could not just stand by and watch. Moreover, this 9 orifices yang restoration pill could also heal the injury of the human emperor. "You keep calling me a servant. I want to see just how honorable your imperial bloodline is." Su Zimo waved the horsetail whisk and tried his best to recall the horsetail whisk technique of the black-robed woman in the 10th tribulation. All these years he often recalled the black-robed woman's horsetail whisk technique. Although he could not fully comprehend it, he had learned about 40 to 50% of its power. In his hands, the horsetail whisk had many transformations and could be used to attack and defend. Ying Tian held the heavy sword but was entangled by the horsetail whisk and could not unleash its original power. The heavy sword seemed to have sunk into a swamp and was sinking deeper and deeper. There were only 3,000 strands of horsetail whisk, and each strand was as thin as hair but incomparably hard. It could not be cut and it was chaotic. It was not only the heavy sword in Ying Tian's hand but also himself who was gradually trapped by the horsetail whisk. Everywhere he looked, there was a vast expanse of white and dense strands of horsetail whisk. On the other side, Lang Qianqian held a long sword. Every time she attacked, Su Zimo would smash the 3 jade rui in his hand. The 3 jade rui's head was embedded with 3 precious pearls that revealed 3 different colors of light. No matter how exquisite Lang Qianqian's sword technique was, as long as it was smashed by the 3 jade rui, the 3 colors of light would explode and disperse the essence qi on the sword. Lang Qianqian's sword technique was instantly defeated and her attack was disintegrated. Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian's cultivation realm was clearly 3 levels higher than Su Zimo's. However, their repeated attacks were fruitless and were instead held back by Su Zimo. On one hand, it was because Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian were holding back. On the other hand, it was also because Su Zimo took advantage of the weapon. Whether it was the 3 jade rui or the Tai horsetail whisk, they were all treasures derived from the creation of Qinglian. Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian had never seen them before and were immediately stunned and could not react. Although Lin Luo did not know why Su Zimo would help her, this was a rare opportunity. She hurriedly moved and rushed towards the 9 orifices yang restoration pill. Seeing this, Ying Tian's expression turned cold and he decided not to hold back anymore. Chapter 2399. Ying Tian activated his qi and blood, and the waves in his body surged. Purple qi burst out from his body and filled the sky, instantly repelling the 3,000 strands of hair. The power of the emperor bloodline was beyond imagination. "You want to trap me with your tattered horsetail whisk?" Ying Tian raised his heavy sword and broke free from the Tai horsetail whisk's entanglement. His aura surged as he charged toward Su Zimo. At the same time, Lang Qianqian also activated her qi and blood, condensing her primal qi to break free from the entanglement of the 3-gem jade scepter. She turned her sword, wanting to stop Lin Luo, who was trying to snatch the 9 orifices yang restoration pill. Roar! Su Zimo's eyes lit up, He suddenly opened his mouth and let out a resounding dragon roar. Just as Su Zimo activated the dragon roar mystic technique, Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian also sensed it. They immediately counterattacked, using the same sound domain mystic technique. Don't, 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 don't. The sound of war drums came from Ying Tian's mouth. It was as if thousands of horses were galloping. Faint sounds of killing and fighting could be heard. A sound domain mystic technique seemed to have evolved into a tragic and bloody ancient battlefield. Every cultivator who heard the sound of the drum could not control their bloodlines. They began to become restless and even boil. He Dan and Chi Yu, who were watching the battle from afar, even felt their hearts being affected. They began to beat along with the sound of the drum in the air. The more intense the drumming became, the faster their hearts beat, and the more intense it became. Among the 5 people watching the battle, Jin Yu from the Bright Sky Immortal Realm was the first to realize that something was wrong. He immediately used a mystic technique to resist the sound. Nie Hun from the Jade Firmament Immortal Realm also seemed to have sensed something. He suddenly pressed his ears tightly against the side of his face. At that moment, Lang Qianqian's sound domain mystic technique sounded. This voice was completely different from Ying Tian's. It was like a trickling stream that flowed endlessly. The lingering sound of the voice was constantly buzzing around his ears. Su Zimo's dragon roar was also different from that of the princes and princesses. This dragon roar contained boundless majesty. It was like a clap of thunder that exploded in everyone's ears and hearts. Its power was suddenly released, erupting with an extremely terrifying destructive force. The 3 top-notch sound domain secret arts clashed against each other. Su Zimo, Ying Tian, and Lang Qianqian had strong foundations and powerful battle prowess, so they didn't suffer too much of an impact. However, He Dan and Chi Yu's bodies could not withstand the pincer attack of the 3 sound domain secret techniques and collapsed. Their hearts exploded, and blood spurted out from their chests. In just a few breaths' time, their chi and blood instantly declined. Under the cover of the 3 sound domain secret techniques, the 2 could not even reconstruct their hearts, which was equivalent to losing half of their combat prowess. They stumbled and retreated hastily. Nie Hun and Jin Yu relied on the fact that they were both stage 5 heavenly immortals and were prepared, allowing them to hold on. That blue-robed lad was only a level 1 heavenly immortal. It was unknown what sort of method he had used, but he managed to survive the pincer attack of the 3 sound domain secret techniques. However, his face was somewhat pale. The blue-robed lad retreated in the direction of He Dan and Chi Yu. Under the protection of Su Zimo's dragon roar, Lin Luo did not suffer much of an impact and obtained the 9 orifices Yang restoration pill almost unscathed. As for Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian, they were momentarily obstructed by Su Zimo's move and lost their chance. Ying Tian's expression was ugly. Ever since he started cultivating, he had almost never encountered any setbacks. On one hand, he was extremely talented and had heaven-defying battle prowess. On the other hand, no one in the Purple Firmament Immortal Realm dared to provoke him. That was why he was invincible and had never tasted defeat. But now, in this Jade Clear Palace, he was blocked by a stage 4 heavenly immortal who came out of nowhere. Su Zimo, you have angered me. Ying Tian's gaze was cold as he slowly said, there is nothing that I, Ying Tian, cannot get when I want it. Whoever tries to snatch it from me will die. You and that servant Lin Luo will die here today. Ying Tian's killing intent was completely ignited. At this moment, the door of the 3rd palace opened. It happened to be not far from Jin Yu and Nie Hun. The 2 of them did not hesitate and directly rushed in. Ying Tian originally wanted to attack Su Zimo, but when he thought of the possibility of other treasures in the 3rd palace, he temporarily put aside his killing intent and rushed in as well. Su Zimo and Lin Luo looked at each other and rushed in as well. Thank you for your help, fellow Taoist Su. Lin Luo cupped her hands slightly and sent a voice transmission with her divine consciousness. Although she did not know why Su Zimo helped her, without his help, she definitely would not have been able to obtain the 9 orifices Yang restoration pill. The 9 orifices Yang restoration pill is a top king grade celestial pill. I just don't know if it can heal father's injuries. No matter what, as long as there is a chance, I have to take it back and let father try. Just as Lin Luo was letting her imagination run wild, Su Zimo suddenly handed her a storage bag. Lin Luo instinctively took it. Su Zimo sent a voice transmission. There's a fretless fruit in here. It can heal primordial spirit injuries. You can take it back and let Senior Human Emperor try it. Fretless fruit. Hearing these 3 words, Lin Luo was shocked. The value of the fretless fruit was not inferior to the 9 orifices yang restoration pill that she had just obtained. Back then, when she heard that a crack had appeared in the Avicii Hell and that someone had escaped, she and her brother had planned to go to the Avicii Hell to look for the fretless fruit. However, the 2 of them were stopped by their mother. Their mother said that there was something strange about the Avicii Hell. It was extremely strange and there was probably something else going on. No matter what, they were not allowed to go. Their mother had extremely accurate judgment in many things. Most of the time, even their father had to follow their mother's wishes. Lin Luo and her brother naturally did not dare to disobey. Indeed, something huge happened in the Avicii Hell not long after. Cultivators from all over the upper world were trapped inside. In the end, even the 8 heavenly kings of the Buddhist monasteries were buried inside. It was a pity. Lin Luo had not expected that someone would be able to take out the fretless fruit. More than that, she had not expected that this cultivator whom she had met by chance would stuff such a precious item into her hands. Right then, the 2 of them rushed into the 3rd hall as well. Lin Luo had many questions in her heart. However, now was not the time. She thanked them and put away the storage bag containing the fretless fruit first. There were still 9 balls of light floating in the 3rd hall. The 6 of them barged in one after another and swept their gazes. Almost all of them were fixated on one of the balls of light with burning gazes. Within the ball of light was a round bead the size of a fingernail. Its surface was uneven and extremely rough. However, it emitted a sacred glow. The bead seemed to contain a mysterious power. Every single cultivator who looked at it felt as though their minds were cleared and they were enlightened. It was the utmost treasure of the Buddhist monasteries, the Bodhi seed. Legend has it that the Buddha had once comprehended the Tao beneath the Bodhi tree. When cultivators cultivated, if they could wield the Bodhi seed, they would be able to gain wisdom and comprehend some obscure Tao techniques with ease. Comprehending Tao techniques and secret skills would yield twice the results with half the effort. However, the Bodhi seed was extremely rare. Back when the Buddha attained the Tao and nurtured the Bodhi tree, there were only dozens of them. Up till now, there were not many left and they were almost nowhere to be seen. The 6 of them had not expected that there would be a Bodhi seed in the Jade Clear Hall. Chapter 2400. Everyone was tempted by the appearance of the Bodhi seed. To Su Zimo, the Bodhi seed was a must-have. The Bodhi seed was a Buddhist treasure, and the Prajna Nirvana Sutra that he cultivated was also a Buddhist Tao technique. There were still some scriptures and secret techniques in this taboo manual that he had yet to fully comprehend. If he could obtain the Bodhi seed's help, there was hope that he could fully comprehend the Prajna Nirvana Sutra and make another breakthrough in his primordial soul. Currently, he was only a stage 4 heavenly immortal, but his primordial soul had already reached the stage 6 heavenly immortal level. If he could fully comprehend the Prajna Nirvana scripture, and perfectly fuse his Dragon Phoenix nascent divinity with his Green Lotus nascent divinity, his nascent divinity might be upgraded to the next level, reaching the level of a 7th-tier heaven immortal. A primordial soul that was 3 stages higher than one's own cultivation level was extremely terrifying. Since ancient times, not many people had been able to do that. More importantly, after obtaining the Bodhi seed, it would be easier for him to comprehend Tao techniques, and his cultivation speed would also increase. The heaven list battle in the divine firmament celestial realm was approaching. Time was very important to Su Zimo. His opponents on the heaven list would definitely be stronger and more difficult to deal with than those on the earth list. Among them, there was Yun Ting, a rare genius that only appeared once in a million years. If the difference in cultivation level between the 2 sides was too great, no matter how many trump cards Su Zimo had, it would be difficult for him to win. The Bodhi seed was equally attractive to the others. Almost at the same time, the 6 of them rushed toward the Bodhi seed, each releasing their divine powers and secret techniques, taking out their Dharma treasures to seize the opportunity. If they could obtain the Bodhi seed, even if they had to give up the Jade Purity Jade Book, they could accept it. Picking the stars with one hand, burning the sky and boiling the sea. Sky slash. Golden spears and armored horses. One after another, divine powers exploded and collided in midair, creating earth-shattering explosions. Nye Hun, the stage 5 heavenly immortal from the Jade Firmament celestial realm, was the first to succumb. He spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated. Jin Yu, the other stage 5 heavenly immortal, was still on the battlefield, but he was also forced to reveal his true form. He was a 3-legged golden crow, covered in golden flames. Boom! Seeing that the situation had reached a stalemate, Prince Ingtian immediately unleashed his bloodline rare phenomenon. A tall, illusionary figure appeared behind him. Its face was blurry, but it was emitting a boundless aura. Around this tall shadow stood 12 golden armored giants with large swords in their hands. Each of them looked cold and murderous. Boom! Lang Qianqian did not hesitate to release her bloodline phenomenon. Behind her, a cloud appeared, and a huge palace was faintly discernible in the depths. There were 5 cities and 12 buildings, and it was grand and magnificent. Under the impact of the prince's and princess's bloodline anomalies, Jin Yu could not hold on any longer and was defeated. Although he was a 3-legged golden crow and had a powerful bloodline, it was still inferior to Ingtian and Lang Qianqian's sovereign bloodline. Moreover, his cultivation was 2 minor realms lower than the 2 of them. The disparity in strength was too great. A mere bird dares to lay its hands on the Bodhi seed? Seeing this scene, Ingtian laughed loudly, appearing extremely insolent. This time, Ingtian and Lang Qianqian had a tacit understanding. Without any communication, they immediately teamed up to suppress Su Zimo and Lin Luo. Su Zimo was a 4th-stage heaven immortal, 3 minor realms lower than Ingtian and Lang Qianqian. If the 2 of them were just ordinary heaven immortals, Su Zimo would surely be able to suppress them with all his trump cards. However, he was currently facing 2 of the strongest geniuses in the 9 heavens immortal realm. In addition, due to the presence of Qinglian's true form, Su Zimo was not able to unleash his bloodline rare phenomenon. Even if he unleashed all his trump cards, it would still be difficult for him to fight against the princes and princesses who were 3 minor realms higher. Ingtian and Lang Qianqian attacked without holding back. The pressure on Su Zimo skyrocketed. Go and get the Bodhi seed. I'll try my best to hold them off for 3 breaths' time. At that instant, Lin Luo's figure flickered and blocked in front of Su Zimo. She transmitted her voice with her divine sense. Roar! Lin Luo also activated her bloodline and raised it to the maximum. 9 divine dragons appeared behind her and circled around her. Previously, Su Zimo had obtained the human emperor's secret technique, the ancient dragonification art. He could summon a divine dragon behind his back. Now, Lin Luo's bloodline rare phenomenon clearly had traces of the ancient dragonification art. However, it was even more powerful and terrifying. It could summon 9 divine dragons. With 9 dragons circling around her body, Lin Luo exuded the majesty of a supreme being even though she had the appearance of a young girl. This bloodline rare phenomenon would not be at a disadvantage against any of Ingtian's or Lang Qianqian's bloodline rare phenomenon. However, Ingtian and Lang Qianqian were 2 people after all. Moreover, Lin Luo's cultivation was only a 6th-stage heaven immortal, which was 1 level lower than the 2 of them. Just 1 bloodline rare phenomenon was not enough. 3 heads and 6 arms. Lin Luo released her supreme divine ability. At the same time, she took out 4 Dharma treasures. Her empty hands quickly deduced a secret technique and condensed it in front of her. A mysterious and profound 8 trigrams diagram appeared. Qian, Koan, Sun, Jin, Qin, Li, Zhen, and Dui, the 8 different powers, appeared in the diagram and changed unpredictably. Earlier on, Su Zimo had helped her obtain the 9 orifices Yang Restoration Elixir. Now that he had given her a worryless fruit, Lin Luo was filled with gratitude. This time around, she unleashed all her trump cards without holding back. Su Zimo did not hesitate. His eyes shone brightly as he shouted, "Six Fangs Divine Power." His innate divine ability was activated and his strength increased tremendously. 3 heads and 6 arms. At the same time, Su Zimo also released this supreme divine ability after this foundation. 3 heads and 6 arms. He only had the chance to comprehend it after the human sovereign had used it once in the lower realm to fight against the foreign sovereigns. Su Zimo held the Tri-Jade Rui Scepter in one hand, the Tai Horsetail Whisk in the other, and a fiery red feather fan in the other. His 3 empty hands quickly deduced Dharma's secret techniques. Everyone comprehended different supreme divine abilities. In addition, due to various reasons such as energy and time, there was a limit to the number of supreme divine abilities one could comprehend. For example, Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian did not comprehend 3 heads and 6 arms. However, Su Zimo and Lin Luo did not comprehend the other supreme divine abilities that the two of them had comprehended. "Kill them!" Ying Tian shouted and raised his arms to the front. The 12 golden armored giants around the illusory figure behind him suddenly rushed out. They held huge swords and surrounded Lin Luo and Su Zimo. "Suppress!" The ethereal palace behind Lang Qianqian also suppressed Lin Luo and Su Zimo. Boom! 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 Lin Luo's 9 divine dragons were the first to collide with the 12 golden armored giants. The battle was fierce. At the same time, her 8 trigrams diagram collided with the ethereal palace. A loud sound was heard, and the 8 trigrams diagram almost collapsed. It had to be said that Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian's bloodline avatars were too powerful. In just a breath's time, Lin Luo's 9 dragons and 8 trigrams diagram were crushed. They turned into streaks of blood qi and dissipated into the air. She waved her 6 arms and summoned her Dharma treasures, wanting to stop Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian for a moment. However, the two of them worked together and knocked down Lin Luo's Dharma treasures in the blink of an eye. Lin Luo originally thought that she could stop Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian for 3 breaths' time, which would give Su Zimo a chance to obtain the Bodhi seed. However, in less than 2 breaths' time, Lin Luo could no longer hold on. Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian were already close to her. Chapter 2401. At this moment, another majestic dragon roar sounded from behind Lin Luo. It pierced through gold and cracked stone. 9 divine dragons broke through the air with a monstrous aura. Lin Luo's 9 dragons avatar had already been defeated by the 12 golden armored giants. The 9 divine dragons now were formed from the 9 dragons on the Tri-Jade Rui. Su Zimo did not abandon Lin Luo to snatch the Bodhi seed. Instead, he chose to help. The 9 divine dragons crashed into the 12 golden armored giants. At the same time, a huge tortoiseshell appeared. The patterns on the tortoiseshell emitted a mysterious light as it blocked in front of Lin Luo. Su Zimo's other innate ability, Spirit Tortoise Shield. Boom! The ethereal palace descended and suppressed the tortoiseshell, causing a loud explosion. The tortoiseshell trembled and flickered. It was obvious that it could not withstand the pressure. At this moment, Su Zimo waved the fiery red feather fan in his hand. He injected heaven and earth yuan qi into it and fanned it toward Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian. As the feather fan fell, a scorching flame burst forth. The flame soared into the sky and formed a fiery storm that instantly engulfed Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian. Destroy! Ying Tian's blood and qi surged and purple qi surrounded him. He took off a string of white prayer beads from his wrist and activated a secret technique as he shouted. This string of prayer beads spun continuously and suddenly transformed into a vast and majestic tide. It collided with the fiery storm and created a huge cloud of mist. Ying Tian's string of prayer beads was made from the bones of an immortal whale. It was unpredictable and could even transform into an ocean and an immortal whale. Condense! Ying Tian lightly shouted. The fiery storm collided with the tide, and the resulting mist continued to condense. In the blink of an eye, a living being with a terrifying aura appeared in midair. This living being's body was so huge that it almost broke through the entire palace. As the immortal whale descended, its aura was astonishing. It rushed towards Lin Luo and Su Zimo. Su Zimo was not in a hurry. He activated his primordial spirit and injected the unique primordial spirit power of the dragon phoenix primordial spirit into the feather fan in his hand. The 7 feathers on the feather fan suddenly became extremely hot, emitting a red light. They were sparkling and translucent, as if they had been burned through. This was the 7-tailed phoenix feather fan, a magic treasure that Su Zimo had picked from the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom when he was ranked first on the Earth roll. This magic treasure was originally a pure yang spirit treasure, but it had been severely damaged, causing its cultivation level to drop, and its power was no longer the same as before. In the Wutong secret realm of the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom, Su Zimo had used the power of the Wutong Grand Formation to repair the 7-tailed phoenix feather fan. Although it had yet to reach the level of a pure yang spirit treasure, it could already display a terrifying might. In order to unleash the power of the 7 phoenix feather fan, the power of the divine phoenix clan had to be activated. Therefore, although this magic treasure had a powerful background, no one chose it until Su Zimo appeared. Half of Su Zimo's primordial spirit was the dragon phoenix primordial spirit. The power he could release was even purer and stronger than the power of the divine phoenix clan. Su Zimo waved the 7-tailed phoenix feather fan once more. Screech! The moment the feather fan landed, the cry of a phoenix sounded in midair. Immediately after, a divine phoenix with blazing flames flew out from the 7-tailed phoenix feather fan and charged towards the immortal whale in midair. Among the 10,000 races, the collision of 2 top-notch living beings was earth-shattering. At the same time that Su Zimo released his trump cards, he waved the horsetail whisk in his hands. The 3,000 strands of horsetail whisk were filled with spirituality and tore through layers of space, spreading continuously. In the blink of an eye, they arrived beside the Bodhi seed and swept it back the way they came. Although he could not escape, he could make use of the Dharma treasure in his hands to seize the initiative and snatch the Bodhi seed. Right then, a warning flashed through Su Zimo's mind. A cold light appeared behind him without any warning, stabbing towards the back of his head. If that cold light pierced down, it would be able to pierce Su Zimo's consciousness instantly and kill his essence spirit. It was a killing move right from the start. He wanted to kill him. The person who attacked had an extremely ingenious grasp of the timing. It was the most intense moment of the fight between Ying Tian, Lang Chanxian, Su Zimo and Lin Luo. Both parties had released multiple divine powers and secret skills consecutively. At this moment, they were at their weakest and could not afford to be distracted. Su Zimo was not surprised and had a calm expression. He was still controlling the Tai horsetail whisk and pulling the Bodhi seed over, as though he did not sense the killing intent behind him. Watch out! Lin Luo caught sight of everything from the corner of her eye and warned hurriedly. She was entangled by Lang Chanxian and could not break free. Lin Luo's voice was still a step too late. The moment she warned, the cold light had already landed on the back of Su Zimo's head. Clang! When the cold light landed on it, it did not break through his flesh and bones. Instead, the sound of metal clashing could be heard. Immediately after, ripples appeared in the void not far away. A short and thin figure appeared, holding a sharp sword in his hand. It was the blue-robed boy with the lowest cultivation among the 9. When the 9 of them appeared, the blue-robed boy was only a stage 1 heavenly immortal and was much weaker than the others. No one paid attention to him at all. No one expected that the blue-robed boy would suddenly appear and dare to attack Su Zimo. He's not a stage 1 heavenly immortal, but a stage 7 heavenly immortal. Jin Yu and Ye Hun, who were watching from the side, could not help but exclaim when they detected the blue-robed boy's cultivation. The blue-robed boy was clearly proficient in the Tao of assassination and concealment. A stage 7 heavenly immortal assassin might not be very strong in a head-on battle, but he could assassinate a stage 8 heavenly immortal or even a stage 9 heavenly immortal. It had to be said that the blue-robed boy's concealment had indeed fooled everyone. Even Su Zimo did not pay attention to him. However, no matter how the blue-robed boy hid his tracks, he could not hide from his spirit perception. When Su Zimo and Ing Tian were fighting, he had already sensed that there was a terrifying expert hidden in the surroundings who was clearly hostile towards him. Therefore, Su Zimo was already prepared. On the surface, he was holding the Tri-Jade Scepter, Tai Horsetail Whisk, and Seven Tails Phoenix Feather Fan. However, in reality, he had already secretly released the 9 Heavens Breath Soil in preparation for any sudden situations. Just as expected, when the blue-robed boy attacked, Su Zimo merely used his spirit consciousness and the 9 Heavens Breath Soil appeared behind his head, forming a yellow sand barrier. No matter how sharp the blue-robed boy's sword was, it could not break through the 9 Heavens Breath Soil. When I saw that lad retreating to the main hall from earlier on, I did not think much of it and thought that he was looking for He-Dan and Chi-Yu, Nya-hun said in a deep voice. By the looks of it, He-Dan and Chi-Yu are most likely dead in his hands. After failing to kill Su Zimo, the blue-robed boy wanted to escape. However, Su Zimo's heart was filled with killing intent. If such a dangerous assassin was left in the Jade Clear Hall, he would be a huge threat. Su Zimo was prepared to make use of this opportunity to eliminate this threat completely. Since you want to assassinate me, don't think about leaving. Su Zimo turned to look at the blue-robed boy who was about to disappear and said faintly. End of chapter. Chapter 2402. When the blue-robed boy sensed Su Zimo's killing intent, he was not afraid at all. In fact, he found it laughable. He was a level 7 heavenly immortal, the same realm as Ing Tian and Lang Chanqian. Although his combat strength was far from theirs, a level 4 heavenly immortal was not a threat to him. Don't be angry, the blue-robed boy chuckled. You're lucky this time. I won't fail next time. Don't worry, Akron. You won't be alone on your journey. He-Dan and Chi-Yu are already waiting for you over there. Just as expected, the moment he saw the blue-robed boy's assassination attempt, Su Zimo guessed that He-Dan and Chi-Yu were most likely dead. Su Zimo glared at the gradually disappearing figure of the blue-robed boy as his mind raced. Ing Tian and Lang Chanqian's attacks were ferocious while Su Zimo and Lin Luo worked together to release many mystic arts and secret skills. However, they could not hold on for long. They had to kill the blue-robed boy as quickly as possible. Su Zimo's figure flashed and suddenly vanished from the spot. By the time he reappeared, he was already behind the blue-robed boy. Pressing 2 fingers together, he conjured a sword art and pointed at the back of the blue-robed boy's head. The blue-robed boy's expression changed slightly as he sensed the killing intent behind him. His reaction was extremely fast as he released a teleportation technique and vanished from the spot. You're too slow. The blue-robed boy chuckled softly. All of a sudden, as though he sensed something, the blue-robed boy hurriedly released a movement technique and shifted dozens of feet to the side. Su Zimo appeared right beside where he was standing a moment ago and slashed at empty air with a wave of his hand. If he had reacted slightly slower, he would have been sliced into 2 by Su Zimo. It's not teleportation? The blue-robed boy frowned deeply. There was no way he could use teleportation twice in a row within a short period of time. The moment that thought flashed through his mind, the blue-robed boy's pupils constricted. Su Zimo had vanished from his vision once more. He did not have time to think as he dodged hurriedly. Just as expected, Su Zimo appeared not far away from him once more. Su Zimo's figure kept disappearing and reappearing. Each time it appeared, it would definitely pose a huge threat to the blue-robed boy. The blue-robed boy was able to avoid danger time and time again. On one hand, it was because his cultivation was not weak. On the other hand, it was because he cultivated the Tao of assassination, so he was more sensitive to danger. Even so, the space for him to dodge was getting smaller and smaller. When Su Zimo's figure disappeared for the 7th time and appeared again, the blue-clothed boy had nowhere to hide. This was the power of the 9 true dragon flashes. Su Zimo was able to unleash this secret technique 7 times in a row after reaching the 4th stage of the heavenly immortal realm. It posed a tremendous threat and pressure to the blue-robed boy. Seeing that there was no way to dodge, the blue-robed boy's eyes turned vicious as he thrust his sword towards Su Zimo's glabella. Su Zimo stretched out his palm, which was covered with the 9 heaven-living soil. With a grab, he directly grabbed the long sword. Sizzle! The sword sliced through the 9 heaven-living soil, creating a series of sparks with an ear-piercing sound. The blue-robed boy channeled his blood chi and released all his strength. However, the long sword could not break free from Su Zimo's grip, let alone pierce his consciousness. Finally, a look of panic flashed through the blue-robed boy's eyes. He specialized in assassination and concealment techniques. In a head-on fight, he could not release much combat strength. But now, he was suppressed by Su Zimo's 9 true dragon flashes and had nowhere to hide. He was forced to fight. The earth trembled and fissures appeared. Boiling red lava spewed out as a gigantic soaring serpent broke out of the ground. Above the firmament, endless killing intent condensed into a divine dragon that charged towards Lang Chantian. The heaven-slaying and earth-slaying sword arts were released at the same time. In an instant, the ground shook and the clouds changed color. Heaven-slaying sword art? Earth-slaying sword art? Ying Tian and Lang Chantian came from the arch race and were knowledgeable. They immediately recognized the origin of the 2 sword arts and exclaimed, "In this world, perhaps only these 2 great sword arts could give rise to such a huge commotion." Ying Tian and Lang Chantian did not dare to be careless. They hurriedly released their own divine abilities and mystic arts to resist the 2 sword arts. In an instant, sword chi rampaged in the main hall. Essence chi surged and divine abilities filled the air. Jin Yu and Nie Hun were flabbergasted by this scene. The 2 of them did not expect that Crown Prince Ying Tian and Crown Princess Lang Chantian, who had the highest cultivation bases, would be blocked by a stage 4 and a stage 6 heavenly immortal. The princes and princesses usually fought and killed opponents above their level. When had they ever experienced something like this? After all, Lin Luo's parents were heaven realm experts. It was reasonable for them to have such means. But where did that stage 4 heavenly immortal come from? A stage 4 heavenly immortal from Heaven and Earth Academy could fight evenly with stage 7 princes and princesses. Chapter 2403. Rumble. Before a victor could be decided between the 4 of them, the doors to another hall opened nearby. Su Zimo had already obtained the Bodhi seed, killed the blue-robed boy, and seized his storage bag. His gains were great, so there was no need for him to tangle with Ying Tian and Lang Chantian here. "Let's go first." Su Zimo sent a voice transmission to Lin Luo with his spiritual sense, then glanced at the nearby hall. The treasures that the immortal emperor had left behind in the Jade Clear Hall were obviously not limited to these. At the very least, they had not found any clues about the Jade Clear Jade Book in these halls. Lin Luo was quick-witted and reacted quickly. Even though Su Zimo did not explain anything, she reacted immediately and dashed towards the grand hall not far away without any intention to fight. In this hall, besides the Bodhi seed, there were 8 other treasures. Although these 8 treasures were not as good as the Bodhi seed, they were still rare treasures. However, Su Zimo and Lin Luo had bigger plans. They abandoned these 8 treasures and went directly to the next hall. If nothing unexpected happened, the next hall would contain the treasures left behind by the immortal emperor. Ying Tian and Lang Chantian were stunned for a moment. They looked at the 8 balls of light floating around the hall and hesitated. With their combat strength, no one would be able to stop them if they took these 8 treasures. Jin Yu and Nie Hun were no threat to them. However, the 8 treasures were scattered all over the hall. It would take some time to collect them. Su Zimo and Lin Luo had already rushed to the next hall to seize the initiative. If they wasted time on these 8 treasures, Su Zimo and Lang Chantian would very likely take the treasures in the next hall for themselves. If the treasures in that hall were the final Jade Clear Jade Book, they would suffer a great loss. At this thought, Ying Tian's figure moved. He ignored the 8 treasures in the hall and rushed towards Su Zimo and Lin Luo at full speed. Lang Chantian also weighed the pros and cons of this decision. She quickly made a decision and sped away, following closely behind Ying Tian. In that way, it benefited Nie Hun and Jin Yu instead. The 2 of them looked at each other and immediately moved, rushing toward the treasures in the hall. Su Zimo and Lin Luo rushed into the main hall. Their eyes swept over the place, and they were slightly surprised. This hall was extremely spacious, and everything could be seen at a glance. A talisman floated in the center of the hall, and it emitted a purple halo. Unlike the previous halls, there was nothing else here besides this talisman. In front of this talisman that was not even the size of a palm, Su Zimo's essence spirits felt an irresistible pressure. Since this immortal emperor had placed it alone in a hall, one could imagine how precious this talisman was. If nothing unexpected happened, this talisman was at least a king-grade talisman. It might even be an emperor-grade talisman. Clear purple cloud talisman. At this moment, Ying Tian's voice suddenly sounded behind them. Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian had also arrived. So it's that talisman. No wonder it has such a great effect on the essence spirit. Lin Luo murmured softly. Then, when she saw Su Zimo's confused expression, she explained softly, back then, this immortal emperor was also a talisman grandmaster. He once condensed the Tao arts in the clear jade book into a talisman. It was a killing talisman that targeted the essence spirit. It was extremely terrifying. Back then, countless kings died in this clear purple cloud talisman. I heard that even the essence spirits of emperors could not withstand it and were severely injured. Su Zimo was secretly shocked when he heard that. An immortal talisman that could kill immortal kings and even severely injure emperors was a great killing weapon. Of course, if one wanted to release an immortal talisman of this level, one's cultivation had to reach a certain level. If anyone present had this immortal talisman, they would not be able to activate it. Even if they forcefully released it, they would not be able to succeed. Before they could kill a strong enemy, their essence spirits would not be able to withstand it and would collapse on the spot. They would die. Even so, the clear purple cloud talisman was a priceless treasure. Almost at the same time, Su Zimo, Lin Luo, Ying Tian, and Lang Qianqian moved at the same time and rushed toward the center of the hall. They were only 1,000 feet away from the center of the hall. In the blink of an eye, they would reach it. But before they could get far, the sound of a drum could be heard. This drum sound appeared very suddenly and reverberated in the empty hall. The sound lingered in the hall, lingering and endless. The four of them stopped almost at the same time. Their expressions were grave as they carefully sensed the changes in their bodies. My lifespan has decreased by 10,000 years? Su Zimo furrowed his brows slightly. This drum sound was a little similar to his saber time. However, the power produced was not obvious and was still within the range that he could withstand. Su Zimo swept his gaze and saw the expressions of Lin Luo and the other two. He could tell that the three of them should have been affected by the drum sound and had their lifespan decreased as well. It should be the sound of the drum of dusk. Lin Luo said softly. Su Zimo asked, "What do you mean?" Lin Luo explained, that immortal emperor's Tao title is Qin Mu because he possesses two emperor weapons, the morning bell and the drum of dusk. Immortal Emperor Qin Mu has extremely deep attainments in the Tao of time. Furthermore, he fused it into his sound domain and created the peerless mystic ability, simultaneous bell and drum, when he was a heavenly immortal. The sound of the bell reverses the flow of time. The sound of the drum reverses the flow of time. When we heard the drum sound, our lifespan decreased. It should be caused by the Tao technique of the drum of dusk. Su Zimo was enlightened. In that case, the sound of the drum of dusk was indeed similar to his Tao of time. However, the power of the sound of the drum of dusk seemed to be weaker than the saber time, let alone the splendor of an instant. At that moment, the sound of the drum had disappeared, but the lifespan that everyone had just now decreased had completely disappeared and did not recover. Drum of dusk, so this is the test of this place? Ying Tian's lips curled into a confident smile as he said proudly, "Let's see how I'll deal with the sound of the drum of dusk." Before he finished speaking, Ying Tian charged toward the center of the hall again. Ying Tian moved forward while unleashing his mystic arts. In the blink of an eye, he was already 10 zhang away. Dong! As expected, the second sound of the drum sounded. Ying Tian stopped and frowned. Apart from Ying Tian, Su Zimo and the other two did not hear the sound of the drum. However, when Su Zimo and the other two moved forward, they also heard the second sound of the drum. During this process, Su Zimo, Lin Luo, and Lang Qianqian all unleashed their mystic arts to resist the sound of the drum of dusk. Su Zimo even secretly unleashed an instant. However, when he heard the second sound of the drum, his lifespan decreased again. This time, it decreased by 20,000 years. A heaven immortal's lifespan was 300,000 years. Only decreasing by 10,000 or 20,000 years was not much of a threat to Su Zimo and the others. However, the sound of the drum of dusk could ignore their mystic arts and directly affect them, reducing their lifespan. This was indeed a little strange. Immortal Emperor Qin Mu, if you want to make me retreat and fearfully move forward, I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. Ying Tian suddenly laughed and said heroically, losing this bit of lifespan is not a big deal. Ying Tian can still bear it. With that, Ying Tian moved again and sped forward. The third sound of the drum sounded. Ying Tian's body shook and he stopped again. Just now, the smile on his face had long disappeared. His eyes flickered and his expression was uncertain and somewhat ugly. Chapter 2404. Su Zimo and the other two continued forward. The three of them also stopped when they heard the third drum. Su Zimo frowned slightly. He closed his eyes and sensed the changes in his body. When the third drum sounded, his lifespan was reduced again. However, this time, it was 30,000 years. They were originally about 100 feet away from the center of the hall. Now, they had only walked 300 feet when they heard the third drum sound. Each drum sound would reduce their lifespan. 10,000 years, 20,000 years, 30,000 years. It didn't seem like much, but if they calculated according to this pattern, they would have lost almost 300,000 years of lifespan when they walked about 700 feet. In other words, even if they exhausted their lifespan, they wouldn't be able to obtain the Purple Dawn Talisman. The four of them stood on the spot and didn't continue forward rashly. Now, they had lost 60,000 years of lifespan. If they continued forward and the fourth drum sounded, they would lose 40,000 years of lifespan. In total, it would be 100,000 years of lifespan. This was an unbearable loss for anyone present. The Purple Dawn Talisman was a priceless treasure, but the price was too great. More importantly, even if they gave up all their lifespan, they might not be able to obtain the talisman. Faced with such a situation, everyone had to carefully weigh the pros and cons. At this moment, Nie Hun and Jin Yu also arrived. When they saw Su Zimo and the other three standing still, they were surprised and puzzled. After hesitating for a moment, the two of them carefully walked forward. There were no other dangers in the hall. The two of them quickly walked 300 feet. They also heard the third drum sound and lost 60,000 years of lifespan. So this is Immortal Emperor Qin Mu's test. Jin Yu also saw the reason for this place and murmured softly. Nie Hun suddenly smiled with a trace of mockery on his face. He said faintly, "Why don't you dare to go forward? If you go forward, no one will stop you." Ying Tian said coldly, "All right. Since everyone has agreed, I won't hold back." Nie Hun cupped his hands slightly. His figure moved and sped forward. In the blink of an eye, he had crossed another 100 feet. Nie Hun heard the fourth drum sound. His lifespan had been reduced by 40,000 years. He was originally 80,000 years old. Amongst the celestial immortals, he was considered one of the younger generation. But now, he had only covered a distance of 400 feet in an instant, but he had lost 100,000 years of his lifespan and was now 180,000 years old. Nie Hun took a deep breath, his expression calm. His journey this time was actually a huge gamble. He knew that since Immortal Emperor Ding Qinmu left behind such a test, there must be a way to break through the situation. He definitely wouldn't send them to their deaths. Otherwise, the test would be meaningless. Nie Hun guessed that it was extremely likely that Immortal Emperor Qinmu was testing their disposition and courage. Only with the courage to fight for survival and the courage to press forward with indomitable will one be able to pass the test and obtain the Purple Cloud Talisman. When he thought up to here, Nie Hun steeled his resolve and continued forward, flashing past another 100 feet. He was only 500 feet away from the center of the hall. At the same time, the fifth drum sounded. Nie Hun could clearly sense that he had lost 50,000 years of his lifespan. He was already 230,000 years old. He was only 70,000 years away from the limit of 300,000 years of lifespan for heaven immortals. Nie Hun's face was gloomy, and his firm conviction began to waver. Was I wrong? Nie Hun was hesitant, unable to advance or retreat. He didn't dare to continue forward. One had to know that if he took another step forward, when the sixth drum sounded, he would lose 60,000 years of lifespan. At that time, he would be 290,000 years old, past his prime. Everything would be too late. However, if he went back the way he came, he wouldn't be able to recover his lost lifespan. In other words, he would lose 150,000 years of lifespan for nothing. Nie Hun was unwilling to accept this. Why aren't you moving? At this moment, Ing Tian chuckled softly. If you're afraid, then come back obediently. There's no need to force yourself. Lin Luo shook her head inwardly when she heard this. Ing Tian's words completely blocked Nie Hun's path of retreat. As expected, when he heard Ing Tian's mockery, Nie Hun's blood surged. His expression was indignant as he snorted coldly and rushed forward. The sixth drum sounded. Under the gaze of Lin Luo and the others, Nie Hun's body underwent a shocking change. In just a short distance of 30 meters, everyone watched as Nie Hun transformed from a peak and powerful cultivator into a white-haired old man in his twilight years. The impact of the passage of time was extremely cruel. Ing Tian, Lang Qianqian, and the others were relieved. Luckily, they didn't go forward recklessly. Otherwise, they would end up like Nie Hun. Nie Hun stood in place. He looked at his white hair and his old, skinny hands. His eyes were lost with a hint of struggle and unwillingness. Why? Immortal Emperor Qinmu, did you leave a test like this just to kill us? What's the point of a test like this? Nie Hun stood in place and roared. His voice echoed in the spacious hall. Ing Tian smiled and said, Immortal Emperor Qinmu didn't ask you to die. You overestimated yourself and are courting death. Lang Qianqian nodded and said, the test in this hall shouldn't be prepared for heaven immortals. According to my calculations, you need to have a lifespan of more than 500,000 years to obtain the purple cloud talisman. Even a true immortal can't do it. I'm afraid you have to reach the immortal emperor realm. I don't believe it. Nie Hun used the last of his strength and roared. He had no way out. Even if he went back the way he came, he was past his prime and only had a year left to live. He could only continue forward and hope for a miracle. Nie Hun continued forward. The seventh beat of the drum sounded. Nie Hun's eyes dimmed. His origin spirit was destroyed and his lifespan was exhausted. He fell in the hall and died. Nie Hun's death destroyed the last hope in Ing Tian and the others' hearts. In fact, Ing Tian and the others had the same guess. Since this was a test left behind by immortal Emperor Qinmu, it shouldn't be a dead end. There must be a way out. Now that Nie Hun was dead, Ing Tian and the others completely gave up and retreated. Even though they had lost 60,000 years of lifespan, they at least kept their lives. Fellow cultivator Su, let's retreat too. Lin Luo looked at Su Zimo beside her. Just now, Su Zimo stood motionless and didn't say a word. His eyes were closed as if his mind was wandering. No one knew what he was thinking. At this moment, Su Zimo suddenly opened his eyes and seemed to have realized something. His figure flashed and moved toward the center of the hall. Fellow cultivator, watch out. Lin Luo was shocked and quickly reminded him. Ing Tian and the others also noticed Su Zimo's actions and had different expressions. Another one who wants to die. Jin Yu curled his lips and sneered. Greed is causing trouble. This person has lost his mind. Lang Qianqian shook her head slightly and said regretfully. Ing Tian said indifferently, in this world, there are too many people who don't know themselves. They always think that they are the favored children of heaven and earth with providence. Little do they know that they are just stupid ants. This person wants to die. At least I don't have to do anything. Chapter 2405. In the blink of an eye, Su Zimo was 100 feet away when he heard the fourth drum. This time, he did not release any divine powers or secret techniques to resist. That was because he knew that the Tao technique contained in the sound of the twilight drum had already surpassed all his strength. Even if he resisted, it would be useless. Su Zimo could clearly feel the loss of his lifespan. 40,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. After walking 400 feet, his lifespan had already been reduced by 100,000 years. It was a wonderful feeling. Su Zimo controlled a divine power that allowed time to pass, which was fleeting youth. He had once used this peerless divine power to kill a stage 9 heaven immortal and personally saw the other party's lifespan dissipate in an instant. However, he had never experienced the feeling of his lifespan disappearing in the blink of an eye. The sound of the twilight drum echoed in the hall. Su Zimo carefully sensed the Tao and Tao contained in the depths of the drum. He felt the cruelty of the loss of lifespan when the sound of the twilight drum descended. The reason why Su Zimo chose to continue forward was not because of greed. Instead, he wanted to use the sound of the twilight drum to continue perfecting his fleeting youth. If possible, he wanted to push fleeting youth to the extreme, break through some kind of barrier and reach another peak. Of course, this action was accompanied by great danger. If he could not comprehend the Tao technique in the sound of the twilight drum, Su Zimo's lost lifespan would never be able to recover. However, all opportunities in the world were accompanied by danger. The most direct way to comprehend the sound of the twilight drum was to test it with one's own body. Only by experiencing the baptism of the sound of the twilight drum and experiencing the profound mysteries of the Tao technique in the sound of the drum would one be able to comprehend it. He wants to comprehend the twilight drum Tao technique? Lang Qianqian seemed to have discovered Su Zimo's intentions and said with a frown. Heh, Ying Tian chuckled. He wants to comprehend the twilight drum Tao with just 10 drum beats? What wishful thinking! Furthermore, he won't even be able to hear 10 drum beats before his lifespan runs out and he dies. This might be the only way to break out of this situation. Lin Luo suddenly understood. The test left behind by immortal Emperor Qinmu was not for everyone to rely on brute force to move forward, but to comprehend his drum of dusk technique. Only then would they have a chance to break through and obtain the violet cloud talisman. Ying Tian, Lang Qianqian, and Jin Yu naturally thought of this as well. However, even though they knew that the drum of dusk was a test left behind by immortal Emperor Qinmu, the four of them did not have the courage to continue. This was too risky. Who had the confidence to comprehend the profound mysteries of the drum of dusk within 10 beats? At this moment, the sound of the fourth drum had completely dissipated and returned to silence. Su Zimo took a deep breath and continued forward. The fifth drumbeat sounded. 50,000 years of lifespan had passed. Su Zimo had only covered half of the distance, but he had already lost an entire 150,000 years of his lifespan. This scene was almost identical to Nie Hun just now. In the eyes of Ying Tian and the others, Su Zimo seemed to be repeating Nie Hun's path. Even the ending was exactly the same. The drumbeat reverberated for a while and soon calmed down. Su Zimo closed his eyes and focused on comprehending the Tao technique contained in the drum of dusk. He felt the subtle changes in his body at this moment. Not long after, Su Zimo opened his eyes and continued forward with a determined gaze. The sixth drumbeat sounded. 60,000 years of lifespan had passed. Su Zimo's body trembled slightly. He had already lost an entire 210,000 years of lifespan. When Nie Hun reached this step, he had already become a white-haired old man who was nearing the end of his lifespan. Although Su Zimo looked a little older, his black hair was like a waterfall, his face was ruddy, and his vitality was abundant. He was clearly still at his peak. Nie Hun was originally 80,000 years old, but he was not even 10,000 years old. Even after losing 210,000 years of lifespan, he was not more than 220,000 years old. He was still at the peak of a heaven immortal. He is very young. With a quick thought, Jin Yu could roughly guess Su Zimo's original age. It's not easy to cultivate to this step before reaching 10,000 years old. Lang Chanxian said, "It's a pity that his age is no longer an advantage. Even if he stops now, the possibility of him reaching the true immortal realm in the future is not high." Fellow Taoist, it's not too late to stop now. Lin Luo had a worried expression. She looked at Su Zimo's back and suddenly reminded, "If you take another step forward and the seventh drumbeat sounds, you will." Haha. Ying Tian laughed loudly and interrupted Lin Luo. He mocked, "Not bad, not bad. Su Zimo, if you are afraid and admit defeat, hurry up and retreat. Don't be rash." Ying Tian's words were clearly meant to provoke Su Zimo. If the seventh drumbeat sounds, Su Zimo would lose 70,000 years of lifespan. At that time, he would also be in his twilight years. Everything would be too late. Lin Luo glared at him and scolded, "Yingtian, you are too vicious." Ying Tian curled his lips and sneered, "This is his own choice. What does it have to do with me? I didn't force him. Besides, the halfway point is 90. Since he has already come this far, he should be firm in his beliefs and continue to move forward." At that moment, Su Zimo opened his eyes and continued to move forward. The seventh drumbeat sounded. A shocking change happened to Su Zimo's body as he aged rapidly. His face was filled with wrinkles and his hair was as white as snow. His flesh withered and he exuded the aura of someone past his prime, turning senile. The lifespan of a heaven immortal was 300,000 years. Su Zimo was almost 290,000 years old. Fellow Taoist, Lin Luo blurted out upon seeing this. Her eyes flickered with pity. Ha! Ying Tian burst out laughing in joy. The man just now, he had teamed up with Lin Luo and caused him and Lang Chanxian to suffer a slight loss. How could he not be happy with the outcome? Now that this person was dead, he could naturally take the treasures on his body for himself. It would be perfect if he could find the heaven-killing sword arts and the earth-killing sword arts. I see. Su Zimo remained in place. Even though his face was old, his eyes were extremely clear and emitting a bright glow as he murmured. He had just comprehended the drumbeat of the drum of dusk. Even though he had learned something from it, he was still unable to comprehend its true essence. He finally came to a realization. Only those in their twilight years would be able to sense the true essence of the drumbeat of the drum of dusk and experience the cruelty of aging. Actually, this was another test of immortal Emperor Chenmu. Although Nie Hun had also reached this stage and was in his twilight years, his mind was on the verge of breaking down at that time. Even his Tao heart was shaken, let alone comprehend the Tao technique calmly. Nie Hun's Tao heart collapsed and he gambled everything. In the end, he died from the exhaustion of his lifespan. The reason why Su Zimo could remain so calm at this point was partly because his Tao heart was strong. His actions were meant to comprehend the Tao technique of the drumbeat of the drum of dusk to begin with. The other important reason was that he had once experienced his twilight years. He was not unfamiliar with this state. Back in the Tao inheritance ground of Tianhuang mainland, when he established Wu Dao, he had almost exhausted his lifespan before he succeeded in the end. Therefore, even though his lifespan was almost up, he could still maintain his composure and comprehend the true essence of the Tao technique of dusk. End of chapter. Chapter 2406. After the seventh drum beat, Su Zimo paused for the longest time. In the eyes of Ying Tian and the others, Su Zimo would definitely not be able to withstand such a blow and would be stuck in a dilemma. Right now, he was experiencing extreme torture. If he took another step forward, the eighth drum beat would sound and Su Zimo would definitely die. However, if he retreated, he would be in his twilight years and would not have much lifespan left. From his high-spirited state earlier on to his frail state, it was merely a distance of 700 feet and less than 15 minutes. Who could withstand such a blow? After a long time, Su Zimo finally opened his eyes. With his back facing Ying Tian and the others, they naturally could not see the look in his eyes. It was as though time had passed and the world had changed. Su Zimo's body was nearing the end of its life. However, the light in his eyes grew brighter. Under the gazes of Ying Tian and the others, Su Zimo advanced once more. Don't, Lin Luo spoke instinctively. Ha! Ying Tian burst into laughter. You're too stubborn. Lang Qianqian shook her head in pity. Don't. The eighth drum beat sounded. However, to Ying Tian and the others' surprise, Su Zimo did not exhaust his lifespan. Instead, he staggered forward 100 feet. His footsteps were slow and even staggered. However, his lifespan did not show any signs of exhaustion. Ying Tian's laughter came to an abrupt end. Lang Qianqian, Jin Yu and Lin Luo were dumbfounded as well. This time round, Su Zimo did not stop in his tracks and continued forward. The ninth drum beat sounded. Su Zimo did not collapse and still had 10,000 years of lifespan left. It was as though the dusk drum's Dao technique was useless against him. Ying Tian and the others widened their eyes and were dumbfounded. In this short period of time, Su Zimo had already walked 900 feet. Logically speaking, his lifespan should have been exhausted and he should have died long ago. However, he continued forward step by step towards the center of the hall. Could something have happened? Ying Tian and the others frowned. It must be that the Taoist technique of the Drum of Dusk has already dissipated in the hall. This thought flashed through Jin Yu's mind. Without making a sound, he secretly activated his movement technique and suddenly rushed forward. In the blink of an eye, he had traversed 10 feet. But soon, Jin Yu heard the fourth beat of the drum. His whole body trembled, and he hurriedly stopped in his tracks, his expression ugly. His lifespan had been reduced by another 40,000 years. In fact, Ying Tian had also speculated this possibility, but he was extremely cautious and didn't act blindly without thinking. Now that he saw Jin Yu's expression, he realized that the dusk drum's Dao technique was still here, not disappearing. This meant that it was extremely likely that Su Zimo had already comprehended the Dao technique within the Drum of Dusk, which was why he was able to withstand the impact of this Dao technique. Seeing that Su Zimo was getting closer and closer to the purple cloud clear talisman in the center of the hall, Ying Tian's heart was filled with unwillingness. But very quickly he felt relieved. He chuckled and said, "So what if this kid can obtain the purple cloud talisman?" He lost almost 30 years of his lifespan. The price he paid is too great. Lin Luo sneered and said, "Don't tell me you think that immortal Emperor Chen Mu didn't have a backup plan?" "What do you mean?" Ying Tian frowned. Lin Luo said, "Su Zimo obtained the inheritance of the dusk drum Dao technique. Immortal Emperor Chen Mu set such a test. Would he allow his successor to die from exhaustion?" Right at this moment, Su Zimo had already arrived at the center of the hall. Reaching out, he took the purple cloud clear talisman and placed it in his storage bag. At the same time, he heard a crisp and distant bell sound that seemed to come from the end of the river of time, containing a mysterious and powerful power. This bell sound was completely different from the gloomy sound of the drum earlier. Within the bell sound, life was brimming and all living things were revived. Under the impact of the bell sound, Su Zimo's body was undergoing tremendous changes as well. His flesh and blood gradually became plump. The wrinkles on his face gradually disappeared and returned to normal. His white hair turned pitch black like ink. His entire being emitted a vigorous vitality. His figure stood straight and his aura surged into the sky. He was even stronger than before. The lifespan that he had just lost had been fully recovered. The sound of the morning bell. Ying Tian immediately understood what had happened to Su Zimo after seeing this. He uttered each word clearly. Immortal Emperor Chen Mu had not only left behind the dusk drum Dao technique, but also the morning bell Dao technique. However, only those who had comprehended the dusk drum would have the chance to receive the baptism of the morning bell Dao technique. For example, although Ying Tian, Jin Yu, and the others also heard the sound of the morning bell Dao technique, they did not have the chance to receive the baptism of the morning bell Dao technique. Their lost lifespan could not be recovered either. Su Zimo stood at the center of the hall. His flesh, bones, tendons, and organs were receiving the baptism of the morning bell and dusk drum Dao technique. It was the same as receiving a new life after being past one's prime. Between life and death, under the stimulation of these two extreme forces, Qinglian's true body rapidly grew and transformed. The bottleneck that had troubled Su Zimo for a long time had also loosened. Su Zimo took a deep breath and plundered the heaven and earth's origin energy around him. He wanted to use this opportunity to break through to the 5th level of Heaven Yuan stage in one go. Just as he made this move, the entire hall underwent a shocking change. Endless heaven and earth's origin energy surged from the walls of the hall. It almost condensed into a solid substance and turned into streams of air that rushed into Su Zimo's body. Su Zimo's body seemed to have turned into a huge whirlpool, crazily absorbing the heaven and earth's origin energy around him. The heaven and earth's origin energy in this hall was too dense. It had far exceeded everyone's imagination. How can this be? Jin Yu looked around with a shocked expression. I know. Lang Qianqian looked around the hall and seemed to have understood something. She suddenly said, the entire jade clear hall is completely built with huge pieces of elemental holy rock. Ying Tian and the others were shocked. This jade clear hall was dozens of feet tall. Such a huge hall was actually built with elemental holy rock. In other words, any random piece of the jade clear hall was an elemental holy rock. To build such a hall, the amount of elemental holy rock was incalculable. It might have reached hundreds of millions, or even more. Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian were princes and princesses. Their status was noble and they did not lack cultivation resources like elemental holy rock. However, the two of them had never seen so many elemental holy rock. All of them were placed in front of them and built into a huge hall. Such a hall of elemental holy rock, let alone a heaven immortal, even a true immortal would be tempted. Boom. At this moment, the energy in Su Zimo's body had accumulated to the peak. He broke through the bottleneck and broke through the barrier, stepping into the 5th level of Heaven Yuan stage. A huge amount of heaven and earth's origin energy surged and boiled in his body. Su Zimo's aura was also rising rapidly. End of chapter. Chapter 2407. Jin Yu stared at Su Zimo with flickering eyes and suddenly said, this person is not weak. Now that he has advanced to rank 5 heavenly immortal, I'm afraid he will be even harder to deal with. The blue-robed boy from before had died in the hands of Su Zimo. Even the prince, Ying Tian, and the princess, Lang Qianqian, did not manage to gain anything from Su Zimo. Originally, Jin Yu thought that he could get a share of the loot in this chaotic battle between the 9 people. Now, it seemed that it would be even more difficult. Not to mention Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian, even Su Zimo and Lin Luo were no match for him. At this moment, the door of another hall rose up not far away. Everyone's eyes lit up and without hesitation, they all moved and rushed towards the hall. 9 people had rushed to this place in the Jade Clear Hall, and now there were only 5 people left. From the beginning to the end, there was no trace of the Jade Clear Jade Book. The further they went, the higher the probability of the Jade Clear Jade Book appearing. Since there was no chance to obtain the Purple Clear Cloud Talisman, there was no need to stay here. Su Zimo stabilized his cultivation and did not continue to absorb the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth. At the same time, he also moved and rushed towards the door of the hall. The 5 people entered in a single file. After entering the hall, their eyes fell on the center of the hall. There was a stone table, and on the surface of the table, there was a bamboo scroll that emitted a green halo. Jade Clear Jade Book. The 5 people's eyes lit up. Although no one had seen the Jade Clear Jade Book before, when they saw this bamboo scroll, they knew that it was definitely the Jade Clear Jade Book. In this secret realm, the real treasure finally appeared in front of everyone. Lin Luo seemed to have sensed something and suddenly let out a soft cry. After rushing into the hall, Lin Luo felt that her Yuan Qi of heaven and earth was sealed in her body and could not be used at all. Even her divine sense was sealed in her sea of consciousness and could not be detected. Not only her, Su Zimo and the others also felt this abnormality at the same time. There is a powerful restriction in this hall. Lang Qianqian whispered, I know. Ying Tian suddenly laughed and said, the restriction in this hall is Immortal Emperor Chen Mu's final test. As far as I know, the Prime Clear Spirit Refinement Art and the Grand Clear Refinement Art, and the Jade Clear Jade Book recorded a body refinement technique. Immortal Emperor Chenmu has set up such a forbidding aura in the hall so that we won't have to rely on any secret techniques, but only our flesh and blood to compete with one another to determine the final successor. Lin Lin Luo frowned. Her cultivation realm was slightly inferior to Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian. That was why she was able to join forces with Su Zimo to fight against the princes and princesses. She had to rely on her many divine powers and secret arts. She was not good with her fighting. According to her observation, although Su Zimo's combat strength was strong, and he could even fight against the princes and princesses, the things he displayed were all kinds of powerful secret immortal arts. If his primordial spirit and essence chi were sealed, he would not be able to use any secret arts and divine abilities. He looked like a weak scholar and did not leak any chi earlier. He must have a weak physical body and an ordinary bloodline. Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian both had immortal emperor bloodlines. They had cultivated bloodline phenomenons and had strong physical bodies. Although they had just released their bloodline phenomenons and could not do it again in a short time, they were almost invincible in this hall. Lin Luo looked at Su Zimo worriedly. The situation was very unfavorable for them. Even if they joined forces with Jinyu, they would not be a match for Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian. It would be best if Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian could fight each other. They might have a chance. However, Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian were not fools. They would work together to clear the other obstacles before fighting for the Jade Clear Jade Book. Unlike Lin Luo, Su Zimo looked calm as if he did not notice the slight changes in the situation. Lin Luo sighed in her heart. She could not send a message with her divine sense. She could only remind him softly, "Taoist Su, you must be careful. Try not to fight them head-on." Su Zimo smiled faintly and did not comment. If she was still a stage 4 heaven immortal and could not use her chi, Qinglian might not be a match for Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian. But now, Qinglian's true body had grown to stage 5 heaven immortal. After releasing the Six Fangs divine power, her strength had increased tremendously. She could fight against Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian. "Taoists, why don't I join forces with you?" Jinyu pondered for a moment, then suddenly said to Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian, "Although my cultivation base is only at 5th stage heaven immortal, I can definitely suppress powerful enemies with higher cultivation base in close combat." Jinyu was a 3-legged golden crow. His bloodline was strong and he was not lying. Relying on the sun blood essence of the golden crows, his bloodline was boiling hot. His chi and blood surged like a volcano erupting. His aura was strong and unstoppable. Although he was not invincible in the same realm, there were few races that could fight against him. Jinyu pointed at Su Zimo and said in a low voice, "Leave this stage 5 heaven immortal to me. Taoists, you two deal with Lin Luo. As for the Jade Purity Book, I will not touch it. I only hope that I can take something from Su Zimo's storage bag." Jinyu was very smart. He could make accurate judgments and had sharp senses. He could see that even if he joined forces with Su Zimo and Lin Luo, they would definitely not be a match for Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian in this hall. Not to mention, the two of them had strong physical bodies and bloodlines and were invincible in close combat. Just their identities as princes and princesses were enough to show that they had other tricks up their sleeves. When they fought for other treasures, the two of them did not reveal too many trump cards. It was only because the Jade Purity Book had not appeared yet that they had held back. Now that the Jade Purity Book had appeared, it would definitely belong to the two of them. Instead of vainly fighting for it, it was better to take a step back and join forces with the two of them to get a share of the loot. A wise man submits to circumstances. Ying Tian smiled and said, "You can join forces with us. However, you don't have to deal with that Su Zimo. You just have to stop Lin Luo. With your 3-legged golden crow bloodline, it shouldn't be a problem to cross a small realm, right?" Jinyu hesitated for a moment and nodded. Of course. Although he agreed verbally, he cursed in his heart. Previously, he wanted to deal with Su Zimo because he wanted to take advantage of the situation. Since they were both rank 5 heavenly immortals, it would be extremely easy for him to suppress Su Zimo and he would be able to save a lot of energy. In the end, if Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian were both injured, he would still have a chance to take advantage of the situation. Ying Tian clearly saw through his intentions and wanted him to deal with Lin Luo. Lin Luo's physical body and bloodline were not strong, so she was not a threat to him. However, Lin Luo's movement techniques were profound. It would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens for Jin Yu to suppress her. On the surface, the two of them seemed to be joining forces, but they were still scheming against each other. If I get entangled by Jin Yu, I'm afraid I won't be able to escape. Lin Luo said in a low voice, "You have no chance against Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian. The situation is not good. Why don't we leave this place first?" Ha! Ying Tian laughed loudly. He and Lang Qianqian guarded the two sides of the hall and said slowly, "It's too late to leave now." Chapter 2408. Su Zimo sneered and glanced at Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian. Then he turned to Lin Luo and reminded her, "If you meet Jin Yu later, be careful of his bloodline phenomenon." The three-legged Golden Crow clan, in addition to their powerful bloodline, also had excellent movement techniques. However, Su Zimo had seen Lin Luo's movement technique before. It was obviously from an ancient lineage. It was very similar to the movement technique used by the black-clothed woman during his 10 tribulations. They were both mysterious and unpredictable. In this aspect, the three-legged Golden Crow clan did not have any advantage. Before Lin Luo could react, Su Zimo stomped on the ground. With a boom, his whole body shot toward the stone table in the center of the hall like a sharp arrow. No matter what, he had to get the Jade Purity book first. "How dare you!" Ying Tian reacted quickly. He instantly pushed his bloodline to the limit and chased after Su Zimo with astonishing speed. On the other side, Lang Qianqian moved with light steps. Her movement technique was even faster than Ying Tian's. The distance between her and Su Zimo was rapidly closing. There was a restriction in this hall. Su Zimo could not use the Great Penguins and other secret techniques to get rid of Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian. If there was no restriction, Su Zimo could release all his secret techniques. Not to mention Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian, even ordinary true immortals would not be able to catch up with him. When Su Zimo was still 10 feet away from the stone table, Lang Qianqian had already caught up. Without hesitation, she attacked. Lang Qianqian stretched out her slender white hand and slapped toward Su Zimo's back. This palm looked white and weak, but the power that burst out from this palm was extremely shocking. It was like a huge palace was pressing down. Its momentum was unstoppable. Su Zimo sensed the movement behind him. Without turning back, he also slapped back. Different from Lang Qianqian's palm technique, Su Zimo's palm was like a huge millstone that constantly rotated, twisted, and crushed. Great Chaos Palm. Bang! The two palms collided and separated immediately. Su Zimo and Lang Qianqian both trembled. A trace of astonishment flashed across Lang Qianqian's eyes. She circulated her blood qi and released the Emperor race's ultimate technique, White Jade Capital. Every palm she released condensed the majestic will of an immortal city and was unstoppable. If she cultivated it to the extreme, she could summon 5 heavens' might at the same time, 5 immortals, and borrow the heavenly might to destroy everything. Lang Qianqian did not expect that her attack not only to not be severely injured, but he was unscathed. The two of them clashed head-on, and they were actually evenly matched. Not only that, Su Zimo made use of the residual force from the collision of the two palms to move forward at an even faster speed. He was now several feet closer to the stone table. Exclamation point. Lang Qianqian's face darkened. At this moment, Anne was the Lady of June. If it were anyone else, they would not have been able to react in time and could only watch as Su Zimo left. However, Lang Qianqian's expression was a little stunned that her palm did not succeed. She immediately waved her wide sleeves, which extended dozens of feet and coiled toward Su Zimo like a spirit snake. Just as he was about to reach the stone table, Su Zimo suddenly felt his feet being bound by a robe sleeve and could not move forward. The robe sleeve seemed to have a mind of its own as it coiled around Su Zimo's feet and even bound his limbs. Break! Su Zimo's eyes lit up and he took a deep breath. Like a snake that swallowed the sun and moon, he was reborn. 2 horns grew on his head and he transformed into a divine dragon. His body was filled with flesh and blood, and his entire body swelled up instantly. Crack, crack. The robe sleeve that bound his body instantly broke and turned into countless pieces that floated down. Such a method was no threat to Su Zimo. However, this slight delay allowed Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian to charge forward at the same time and block Su Zimo's path. They joined forces and attacked. Su Zimo had to break through Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian's defense to obtain the clear Jade Book. On the other side, Jin Yu and Lin Luo had also started to fight. The battle between the two seemed intense, but it was difficult to determine the victor. In terms of strength, Jin Yu was indeed superior. However, with the help of a mysterious footwork, Lin Luo was able to turn danger into safety time and time again. No matter what kind of attack Jin Yu launched, Lin Luo could easily neutralize it. Of course, with Lin Luo's strength, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to suppress Jin Yu. Lin Luo fought with Jin Yu while paying attention to the battle not far away. She knew very well that no one at the same level could stop the combined forces of the princes and princesses. However, after watching for a while, she realized that the situation over there was completely beyond her imagination. Su Zimo was fighting 1 against 2. In close combat, not only was he not at a disadvantage, but he was also exchanging blows with Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian. Jin Yu also found an opportunity to glance over. This glance almost caused his jaw to drop. Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian joined forces, but they were still unable to suppress Su Zimo. Not only that, in terms of momentum, Su Zimo seemed to have the upper hand and was in control of the initiative. This, Jin Yu and Lin Luo were greatly shocked. How was this possible? In close combat, this Su Zimo was actually suppressing the princes and princesses. If this scene spread to the 9 heavens immortal realm, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. The bloodlines in Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian's bodies had been pushed to the limit, and they displayed the many close combat techniques of their respective imperial emperor clans. Their attacks were fierce. Su Zimo did not use his bloodline, but with the physical strength of Qinglian's true body, he was also able to fight the 2 of them head-on without being at a disadvantage. Although he was only one person, in terms of close combat techniques, his attacks were even more fierce and ferocious. Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian felt as if they were not facing a person, but a savage, ferocious beast. Sometimes, it was as majestic as a divine dragon descending, sometimes as ferocious as a tiger descending the mountain, sometimes as agile as a monkey flying, sometimes as feminine as a python hissing. The 2 of them felt that it was very troublesome, and their expressions were ugly. They had cultivated until now and had fought countless battles. When had they ever encountered such a terrifying counterattack? In front of Su Zimo, all their advantages seemed to have disappeared. Their techniques were brilliant, but Su Zimo's combat techniques were even more profound. Their attacks were fierce, but Su Zimo's counterattacks were even more ferocious. Their attacks were ruthless, but Su Zimo was even more ruthless. In just dozens of breaths, the 2 sides had already exchanged more than 1,000 blows. The 3 of them were covered in injuries. However, as time passed, Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian's blood qi gradually weakened and they were at a disadvantage. However, Su Zimo became more and more courageous as he fought. The current situation was within Su Zimo's expectations and control. After all, there was a difference of 2 cultivation realms between the 2 sides. Under the situation where he could not use his blood qi, it was difficult for Su Zimo to suppress Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian. However, during the fight, he had to injure the 2 of them even if he had to risk being injured. In this hall, he could not use any divine abilities or secret techniques. This also meant that if he wanted to heal, he could only rely on the self-healing power of his physical body and bloodline. In terms of healing, no physique could compare to Qinglian's true body. Even the bloodline of an imperial emperor could not compare. As such, the more injuries the three of them had, the higher Su Zimo's chances of victory would be. As expected, in less than 15 minutes, the three of them had exhausted a lot of their energy. Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian's blood qi was depleted, and their strength gradually weakened. On the other hand, Su Zimo relied on the self-healing power of Qinglian's true body and did not suffer any losses. That was why he became more courageous as he fought and suppressed Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian. Chapter 2409. Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian were being suppressed by Su Zimo, and their expressions became increasingly unsightly. The two of them had been keeping a trump card and had not used it yet. This was their final trump card, and they would not use it unless they had no other choice. Actually, the two of them had the same thought. Even though Su Zimo had the upper hand and held the advantage, it was still very difficult for him to suppress and defeat the two of them. As long as this continued, the two of them could exhaust Su Zimo to death even if they had to exhaust him. After all, Su Zimo was fighting 1 against 2. Furthermore, the two of them had the arch bloodlines. Their physiques were strong and their endurance was astonishing. However, as time passed, the two of them gradually lost confidence in their hearts. Although Su Zimo had some wounds on his body like them, they healed extremely quickly. Furthermore, Su Zimo still looked lively and energetic. The more he fought, the braver he became. He did not show any signs of fatigue at all. On the contrary, the two of them felt their qi and blood weakening, and they could not hold on any longer. Just as the two of them were distracted, their movements inevitably slowed down, revealing a trace of weakness. To the two of them, this trace of weakness was completely negligible. After all, this was the cooperation of the arch and princess. Even if there were some flaws, they could quickly make up for it by working together. However, Su Zimo sensed something and would not miss this opportunity. His eyes shone brightly, and his aura soared as he locked onto Ying Tian. "How dare you get distracted in front of me?" Su Zimo shouted, his voice like thunder. Lang Qianqian sensed the sudden change in the situation and hurriedly used the arch race's ultimate technique, White Jade Jing. With a wave of her hand, a huge and majestic ancient city appeared and pressed down on Su Zimo. As long as she could pin down Su Zimo for a moment, Ying Tian would be able to extricate himself from danger. Su Zimo ignored Lang Qianqian's close combat ultimate technique behind him. He leaped up like a dragon and stretched out his body. He swept his legs together and burst out with a ferocious force that collided with the descending ancient city. This move was incomparably stunning. It was like a divine dragon swinging its tail, possessing both form and spirit. Back on the Dragon Abyss Star, Su Zimo's primordial spirit had entered the corpse of a divine dragon and performed many of the dragon's close combat techniques. With the foundation of the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the Great Wilderness, he had already mastered those melee combat techniques over the years. In the eyes of Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian, Su Zimo seemed to have disappeared and was replaced by a divine dragon between them. Boom! The collision between the divine dragon's tail and the ancient city resulted in a deafening explosion. Lang Qianqian's delicate body trembled, and she took a few steps back. And Su Zimo borrowed this huge rebounding force, instantly rushed in front of Ying Tian, stretched out his hands, and grabbed Ying Tian's arms. Clang, clang, clang. Su Zimo stretched out his 10 fingers. 10 fingernails as sharp as knives flickered with a cold light. Ying Tian had not expected that he would suffer such a ferocious attack just because his mind was wavering. By the time he came back to his senses, Su Zimo had already arrived before him. A tragic and bloody aura surged over, suffocating him. Ying Tian's eyes met with Su Zimo's and his mind was shaken, causing him to lose his courage. Not good. Ying Tian was shocked. In terms of aura, spirit, he was already at a disadvantage. He could not take it head-on. Ying Tian reacted immediately and retreated. At the same time, he clenched his fists and punched towards Su Zimo's hands, wanting to delay him for a moment. However, Ying Tian was still too slow. He had just raised his arms when Su Zimo's hands landed on his shoulders. With the slightest obstruction, the sharp fingernails pierced through his flesh. 10 fingernails pierced into Ing Tian's shoulders and into the gaps between his bones. Ugh! Ing Tian grunted. Before he could react, he saw a blur in front of his eyes. A figure rushed in front of him like a divine steed. Bang! In the next moment, a huge force slammed into his chest. Ing Tian's chest was wearing a heart protection mirror, which was equivalent to a spiritual artifact. Although it did not have the power of a spiritual artifact, its material was indestructible and blocked this huge force. If not for this, Su Zimo's knee strike would have been enough to collapse Ing Tian's chest and rupture his heart. This heart protection mirror blocked the power of Su Zimo's knee strike, but it could not dissolve the terrifying impact of this collision. Ing Tian's figure flew back uncontrollably. However, his arms were locked down by Su Zimo's fingers. At the same time, Su Zimo grabbed Ing Tian's shoulders with both hands and forcefully pulled him back. The two forces erupted at the same time, causing extremely brutal consequences. One of Ing Tian's arms was torn off by Su Zimo. Blood spurted out and dyed the hall red. Ah! Receiving such a heavy injury, Ing Tian could not help but cry out in pain, his expression pained. Divine abilities and secret arts could not be used in the hall, so he could not use the arm regrowth technique. His severed arm could not be healed for the time being and blood flowed out. Lang Qianqian was shocked, her eyes filled with disbelief. The whole process was slow to describe, but in fact, it happened in an instant. When she had just dissolved Su Zimo's divine dragon swings its tail and was about to step forward to help Ing Tian, this scene had already happened. In a battle of this level, there was no room for any mistakes. Even Lin Luo and Jin Yu, who were fighting on the other side of the hall, were shocked when they saw the situation, and their movements slowed down a little. Before this, who would have thought that the joint forces of the Crown Prince and Princess would be forced into such a situation by an unknown person? Jin Yu felt a lingering fear in his heart. At that time, he had volunteered to fight this seemingly weak scholar. Now that he thought about it, it was fortunate that he was stopped by Ing Tian. This person looked gentle and quiet on the outside, but who would have thought that he would be so cruel and terrifying when he fought? As the Crown Prince, even if Jin Yu had the ability to suppress Ing Tian, he would still be afraid and would not dare to injure him. However, this person did not hesitate at all and actually tore off Ing Tian's arm. If he were to fight this person, he would have died on the spot. Although Ing Tian had lost his arm, he used this opportunity to escape into the distance, temporarily shaking off Su Zimo's pursuit. He was currently glaring at Su Zimo with a ferocious expression. Su Zimo did not continue to chase after Ing Tian. The distance between them was quite far. If he pursued Ing Tian, Lang Qianqian would take the opportunity to obtain the Jade Purity book. At this thought, Su Zimo suddenly turned around and rushed toward Lang Qianqian behind him. Lang Qianqian had yet to calm down when she saw Su Zimo charging towards her like a starving ferocious beast. She could not help but feel shocked and enraged. Just now, she could not defeat this person even if she joined forces with Ing Tian. Now that she was facing Su Zimo alone, she naturally felt uneasy. Su Zimo charged forward with a torrential aura from tearing off Ing Tian's arm. He was unstoppable and even Lang Qianqian had to avoid him. However, Su Zimo would not let her escape unscathed. In the battle of the cultivation world, there was no room for mercy. Chapter 24:10. Su Zimo clenched his fists tightly. His flesh and blood were plentiful as he descended from the sky. He was majestic as if he was holding a huge seal and smashed it towards Lang Qianqian's face. Lang Qianqian raised her arms high above her head. Bang! The seal smashed into her arms, and a muffled sound rang out as if it had been struck by leather. Lang Qianqian groaned as she felt a sharp pain in her arms. The next moment, she felt numb and sore, unable to exert any strength. The power of Su Zimo's attack was too ferocious. It had actually scattered her blood and qi. However, Su Zimo's attack did not stop. He lowered his body and curled his body up. His hands were holding something in the air, and he suddenly shot up. This time, an extremely tragic murderous aura burst out. "He's going to kill me." Lang Qianqian was shocked. Her arms were numb and her blood and qi were not flowing smoothly. Without much time to think, she tapped the ground lightly with the tip of her foot. Her entire body swayed slightly like a willow leaf as she quickly floated backward and distanced herself from Su Zimo. Lang Qianqian only thought that Su Zimo wanted to kill her on the spot. She retreated without holding back and distanced herself by more than 100 feet in the blink of an eye. However, Su Zimo's attack came to an abrupt halt. He suddenly stopped and turned around to grab the Jade scroll on the stone table behind him. Suppressing the princes and princesses was not his goal. The Jade scroll was his goal. As long as he had the Jade scroll in his hands, he would be able to control whether he wanted to advance or retreat or leave this place. After forcing Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian to retreat, the Jade scroll was already within reach. Seeing that the scroll was about to fall into his hands, Su Zimo felt a sense of danger. He caught a glimpse of a dazzling golden light from the corner of his eye. The next moment, a strong aura of death enveloped him. Oh no! Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. Although he did not know what the golden light behind him was, he could sense that it could definitely threaten his life. Even Qinglian's true body could not block it. Su Zimo did not hesitate and decisively gave up on the Jade scroll. He moved sideways and dodged to the other side. All of a sudden, a blazing white light burst out from the other side. It was murderous and descended instantly, cutting off Su Zimo's escape route. As soon as this white light appeared, the temperature in the entire hall suddenly dropped by a lot. Su Zimo's expression. In this grand hall, he was unable to use his spirit consciousness or secret skills. It was extremely difficult for him to escape the encirclement of the two killer moves just by relying on the strength of his physical body. The Powers Chi's Jade Scroll of Heaven's origins. Furthermore, the second beam of white light was extremely mysterious and had already sealed all of Su Zimo's escape routes. And Lang Qian's his from the white encirclement of the same. There was no way. He of his, and used qi, as qi, was qi's, was in's. They of their heads. To them. And look to it to them. When Lin Luo saw Su Zimo's situation, she could not help but exclaim, "Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian still have trump cards." Jin Yu muttered to himself, "It's not that easy to defeat the princes and princesses." On the battlefield, with his life hanging by a thread, Su Zimo suddenly recalled the footsteps of a black-robed woman with a horsetail whisk. That footwork was extremely mysterious and full of mysteries. Su Zimo had only seen it once and could not comprehend the mysteries of that footwork, let alone execute it. However, Lin Luo had executed it several times just now. The figures of Lin Luo and the black-robed woman seemed to have overlapped in his mind. Out of the blue, Su Zimo instinctively took a diagonal step towards one of the directions and landed precisely on a spot in the void. The encirclement of the two divine lights had almost sealed off all of Su Zimo's paths of retreat. The point that Su Zimo had just stepped on was the only chance of survival and loophole. With this step, Su Zimo instantly escaped from the encirclement of the two divine lights and left them behind. Lin Luo's eyes lit up. Disbelief appeared on her face. "How did he?" she murmured. After Su Zimo escaped, he could not help but break out in a cold sweat. Just now, if that mysterious footwork had saved his life, he would most likely have been heavily injured or even died on the spot. Su Zimo looked back and could not help but frown. In front of Ying Tian stood a tall golden-armored giant. He held a large golden sword in his hand, and his expression was grave and stern. Just now, that golden light was slashed out by this golden-armored giant. "A puppet?" Su Zimo murmured. The art of puppetry was an unorthodox Dao, and there were Daoist legacies in Tianhuang mainland as well. However, the strength of this golden-armored giant's puppet had already surpassed heavenly immortals and reached the level of perfected immortals. It was way too terrifying. Ying Tian carried such a puppet with him at all times. Not many perfected immortals could threaten him, let alone heavenly immortals. On the other side, a white-robed phantom stood in front of Lang Qianqian. He held a long sword and stood with his hands behind his back. There were some talisman shards scattered under the feet of this phantom. The second ray of white light should be the killing move released by this phantom. Unlike Ying Tian's puppet, this phantom seemed to be a type of talisman. Furthermore, the strength of this white-robed phantom had already reached the level of a perfected immortal. If nothing went wrong, this should be the final trump card of Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian. Initially, the two of them did not release it. On one hand, they felt that there was no need. On the other hand, they were wary of each other. The two of them did not expect that there would be someone who could take on the two of them in close combat and almost suppress them. Ying Tian even paid the price of losing his arm. Su Zimo, you're lucky to be able to dodge my golden-armored puppet sword. Ying Tian gritted his teeth and said coldly, wait until I get the Jade Purity Jade Book, then I'll take your life. Go. Ying Tian's mind moved. The golden-armored giant in front of him dragged his sword and strode toward the stone table in the middle. Clang, clang, clang. Lang Qianqian raised her head slightly. The white-robed phantom in front of her fluttered and rushed toward the Jade Purity Jade Book on the stone table. At this moment, the Crown Prince and the Crown Princess did not hold back and released their trump cards. They both wanted to take the Jade Purity Jade Book for themselves. The golden-armored giant was still a step too slow. Seeing that the white-robed phantom was about to take the Jade Purity Jade Book, the golden-armored giant suddenly raised his sword and slashed at the stone table. The white-robed phantom flipped his sword and flicked it at the golden giant's sword. Clang! The two swords clashed with an ear-piercing sound and a blazing brilliance. Chapter 24:11. The golden-armored giant's swordsmanship was powerful and heavy, and the white-clothed illusory figure was somewhat inferior in a direct confrontation. However, the white-clothed illusory figure's swordlight contained a trace of mysterious gentleness, releasing a kind of soft and nimble force that deflected the golden-armored giant's sword. This was already considered a battle between two true immortals. Originally, Su Zimo had the highest chance of obtaining the 3 Purity Jade Book. However, he did not expect that after Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian released their respective trump cards, the others no longer had a chance. Su Zimo stood in the distance, not daring to rashly approach. Regardless of whether it was the golden-armored giant or the white-clothed illusory figure, he was no match for them. The mysterious footwork that he released just now was also something he had used in a moment of desperation. Now, if he were to use it again, he would have no clue. Clang, clang, clang. The golden-armored giant and the white-clothed illusory figure continued to exchange blows. In the main hall, sword light crisscrossed, sparks flew, and killing intent filled the air, chilling to the bone. Rumble! The two's exchange of blows spread to the surroundings, and the stone table collapsed. The 3 Purity Jade Book flew up, and the bamboo scroll unfolded. Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian's eyes lit up. Almost at the same time, the golden-armored giant and the white-clothed illusory figure stretched out their palms. One of them grabbed one side of the bamboo scroll, while the other held a sword, and fiercely collided. Boom! The two swords collided, and a huge force burst forth, causing the two figures to retreat at the same time. With a ripping sound, the 3 Purity Jade Book in the air was also unable to bear the pressure of the two forces and was directly torn in half. The golden-armored giant held the other half of the 3 Purity Jade Book and retreated to Ying Tian's side. The white-clothed illusory figure took the other half and returned to Lang Qianqian's side, handing it over. Ying Tian held the other half of the 3 Purity Jade Book with an ugly expression. He had suffered a great loss this time. Not only did he not obtain a treasure like the Bodhi Seed, but he also only obtained half of the most important 3 Purity Jade Book. Lang Qianqian also frowned slightly, revealing a trace of regret and pity. However, after thinking about it, she felt that obtaining the other half was better than returning empty-handed. Moreover, with this half of the 3 Purity Jade Book, she could discuss with Ying Tian and combine the two into one. Both of them could cultivate at the same time and achieve a win-win situation. This matter was not urgent and could be discussed at length. When Su Zimo saw that the situation was settled, he prepared to leave. Even though he didn't get the 3 Purities Jade booklet, he had gained a lot from this trip, including the Bodhi seed and many other treasures, which were of great help to his cultivation. At this moment, Ing Tian suddenly turned around and looked at Su Zimo. He did not conceal the killing intent in his heart as he said in a cold voice, "Su Zimo, next, it's time to settle the grudge of my broken arm." Lang Qianqian also turned around and looked at Su Zimo, who was not far away. The Crown Prince and Crown Princess both had killing intent in their hearts. They all had noble statuses. Although they had encountered many dangers throughout their cultivation journey, they had never been beaten so miserably by a cultivator of the same level. Furthermore, this was when the two of them had joined forces, and the opponent's cultivation was 2 levels lower than theirs. If they allowed Su Zimo to leave this place alive, it would be a disgrace to both of them. If possible, Ing Tian even wanted to kill Jin Yu and Lin Luo, who knew about this matter. All of a sudden, the broken part of the 3 Purities Jade booklet in Ing Tian and Lang Qianqian's hands emitted a godly glow. The divine light released a powerful force that tore apart the space around the two of them, causing it to collapse and form a dark and deep black hole. This is... Ing Tian and Lang Qianqian were startled. A space tunnel? Following this, Ing Tian blurted out as he collected his thoughts. Following this, the black hole emitted a strong suction force, dragging Ing Tian and the golden armor giant beside him into it. Ing Tian yelled and tried to break free. Unfortunately, it was too late. The space tunnel gradually devoured him and the golden armor giant before disappearing in the end. On the other side, Lang Qianqian and the white-robed figure were also dragged into the space tunnel and soon disappeared from the hall. In the blink of an eye, the space closed up as if nothing had happened. However, only 3 people were left in the hall: Su Zimo, Lin Luo, and Jin Yu. Su Zimo and Lin Luo furrowed their brows thoughtfully. Jin Yu's eyes flickered. He couldn't even defeat Su Zimo, not to mention Su Zimo and Lin Luo working together. Just now, Jin Yu saw Su Zimo's decisiveness and was extremely afraid. He was afraid that Su Zimo would react and kill him here. He was so scared that he took out a teleportation talisman from his storage pouch and tore it apart. What 3 Purities Jade booklet? It's just a scam. Jin Yu tossed out a sentence before disappearing into the spatial tunnel. He also left this place. Only Su Zimo and Lin Luo were left in the hall. The two looked at each other and laughed. Just now, that 3 Purities Jade booklet shouldn't be real. Su Zimo pondered and said, it should be a giant teleportation talisman. After Ing Tian and Lang Qianqian tore it apart, they were teleported away. I don't know where they went. Lin Luo also nodded and said, if that 3 Purities Jade booklet isn't real, then where is it? It should still be here? Su Zimo thought for a while and said, there are 3 possibilities. First, as Jin Yu said before he left, this is just a scam, a joke played by immortal Emperor Chenmu. Of course, I don't agree with this. Immortal Emperor Chenmu went through so much trouble and left so many precious treasures in the hall. There is no need to play such a joke on the most important 3 Purities Jade booklet. Lin Luo said, the second possibility is that, as I said just now, the 3 Purities Jade booklet is still here. Su Zimo nodded. Lin Luo asked, what about the third possibility? Su Zimo said, the third possibility is that Ing Tian and Lang Qianqian were teleported to the location of the 3 Purities Jade booklet. Lin Luo understood and said softly, that is indeed possible. No matter what, let's search this place first. Su Zimo smiled and said, even if we can't find the 3 Purities Jade booklet, this huge hall made entirely of elemental spirit stone is still a great harvest. The two of them split up and searched the hall. After nearly half a day, they turned the entire hall upside down but still couldn't find any trace of the 3 Purities Jade booklet. The two of them reunited and arrived outside the Jade Clear Hall. Lin Luo smiled bitterly and said, I'm afraid you are right. Ing Tian and Lang Qianqian were teleported to the location of the 3 Purities Jade booklet. Su Zimo was silent. Lin Luo sighed and said, "What a pity. The teleportation jade booklet on the stone table should have been obtained by you, but it was snatched away by the two of them." At this time, Su Zimo and Lin Luo suddenly felt a mysterious and powerful force around them. After a moment of dizziness, the two of them actually left the secret realm. Immediately after, the secret realm in front of the two of them continuously shrank and condensed, gradually turning into a green ball of light. It floated over and stopped in front of Su Zimo. Chapter 24:12. What's that? Lin Luo reached out instinctively and tried to touch it. The moment her palm touched the green ball of light, she felt a sharp pain and retracted her palm hurriedly. Lin Luo looked at Su Zimo beside her and stuck out her tongue. "I'm not allowed to touch that thing." Su Zimo was also confused as he squinted his eyes and looked over. Within the green ball of light, there was a bamboo scroll floating vaguely, emitting a mysterious glow. Su Zimo reached out tentatively into the green ball of light and did not feel any resistance. Immediately after, he took the bamboo scroll from the green ball of light and saw the words Jade Purity Jade Manual written on the first batch of bamboo scrolls. "It's the Jade Purity Jade Manual," Lin Luo exclaimed softly when she saw the words on it as well. Su Zimo nodded. Lin Luo's eyes revealed a look of envy. "Fellow Taoist Su, this Jade Purity Jade Manual has clearly recognized you as its master. This is your opportunity." "How could that be?" Su Zimo was overjoyed to obtain the Jade Purity Jade Manual as well. However, there were still many things that he could not understand. Why would the Jade Purity Jade Manual recognize him as its master? Where did the secret realm that they were in earlier on go to? What did that secret realm have to do with the Jade Purity Jade Manual before him? Su Zimo injected his spirit consciousness into the Jade Purity Jade Manual and received a lot of information. After a long time, he revealed a look of realization and murmured softly, "I see. What's going on? Tell me quickly, fellow Taoist." Although Lin Luo was somewhat disappointed that she did not obtain the Jade Purity Jade Manual, she could not hold back her curiosity and asked hurriedly. Su Zimo replied, "This involves a secret of the 3 Purity Jade Manual." Upon hearing that, Lin Luo suddenly interrupted and shook her head. "Since it's a secret, you'd better not tell me. Although I'm curious, I know that I can't pry into such things casually. It's nothing. There's no need to hide it from you." Su Zimo looked at Lin Luo and smiled. Although Lin Luo's cultivation was higher, she was still young and had the innocence of a young girl. In Su Zimo's eyes, she is more like a little sister, just like Ning. Because of Lin Luo's background, Su Zimo naturally felt closer to her and trusted her. At the thought of Xiaoning, Su Zimo could not help but feel a sense of longing. At the thought of Xiaoning, he could not help but recall Night Spirit, Monkey, Lin Xuanji, and the other old friends of Heaven Wasteland region. Su Zimo looked into the distance, lost in thought. Many of his old friends from Heaven Wasteland had ascended. But now, he'd only found Yan Beichen and Ming Zhen. There was no news of the others, and he didn't know if they were still alive. When Lin Luo saw Su Zimo's strange expression, she did not disturb him and merely waited quietly at the side. A moment later, Su Zimo snapped out of his daze and looked at Lin Luo beside him, saying apologetically, "I'm sorry. I was a little lost in thought when I thought of some old friends of the past. You know my father. He should be from Heaven Wasteland region as well, right?" Lin Luo recalled what happened earlier and asked. Su Zimo nodded. "Indeed." Lin Luo bowed deeply to Su Zimo. "Fellow Taoist Su, no matter what, thank you for helping me obtain the immortal elixir and giving me the worryless fruit." Su Zimo hurried forward and lifted her up, saying seriously, "Senior Human Emperor was injured because he defied the laws of heaven and earth to forcefully descend to the lower realm in order to save the humans of Heaven Wasteland mainland. If not for Senior Human Emperor, I would have died long ago and the humans of Heaven Wasteland region would be doomed eternally. My meager strength is nothing at all." After pausing for a while, Su Zimo asked, "I still don't know how Senior Human Emperor's injuries are. How is Senior Fairy Ling Long recently?" Father's injuries still show no signs of healing. Actually, I don't know if this immortal elixir and the worryless fruit can heal father's injuries. I can only try and hope that it will be effective. Lin Luo sighed softly, and worry that did not belong to her age appeared on her slightly young face. She said, "Mother is fine. She has always been protecting father by his side." Lin Luo paused for a while, wanting to say something but stopping herself. In fact, Lin Zhan's injuries had caused a huge commotion in the green firmament celestial realm. It had even spread throughout the 9 firmament celestial realm and the entire heaven realm. Otherwise, juniors like Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian would not have known about this. The impact of this matter was huge. As time passed, the territory that Lin Zhan ruled also became unstable, and there were internal and external troubles. If not for Fairy Ling Long holding the fort, the huge celestial kingdom would have collapsed and been divided by the other forces of the green firmament's celestial realm. However, Lin Zhan's injuries had not healed for a long time, and Fairy Ling Long alone was unable to support such a huge figure. The pressure they faced was also increasing. If Lin Zhan was unable to recover or met with some other unforeseen circumstances, they might be annihilated. Fairy Ling Long and her brother had never mentioned these things to Lin Luo. However, Lin Luo was sharp and intelligent. She could see and feel these things. The celestial kingdom that she was in now seemed huge, but it was actually very fragile. Any changes could cause unimaginable changes. These were all things that were hidden in her family. Although Lin Luo trusted Su Zimo, it was not good for her to say these things. Moreover, even if she said it, with Su Zimo's cultivation he would not be able to help much. For some reason, Lin Luo felt an inexplicable sense of closeness from Su Zimo. It was not only because Su Zimo came from Tianhuang mainland, but also because Su Zimo gave her the feeling that he was more like her brother. Su Zimo saw that Lin Luo had a lot on her mind and did not ask further. He said, "Just now, I have not finished talking about the 3 pure jade books." Ying Tian once said that in the 3 pure jade books, the supreme pure spirit refinement, the jade pure body refinement, and the supreme pure body refinement technique are all top techniques. However, this is not the only reason why the 3 pure jade books are called taboo manuals. It is also because each jade book is actually a world, a heaven and earth. Lin Luo was shocked and asked subconsciously, "Then the mystic realm that we are in just now is actually—" "That's right. We were in the jade pure jade book just now." Su Zimo nodded. The jade pure jade book was not hidden anywhere in the mystic realm. It was the mystic realm itself. The heaven and earth contained in the jade pure jade book was also known as Qingwei Heaven. Qingwei Heaven was an existence that was extremely similar to Emperor Lord Bo Sun's Great Fiend Heaven. One had to know that one could only condense a world after entering the martial emperor realm. If one could completely control the jade pure jade book, it would mean that they could control a world and Qingwei Heaven. That was also the reason why there were similar legends. Even if one obtained a single volume of the 3 pure jade books, there was a high chance of entering the martial emperor realm. Of course, given Su Zimo's current cultivation realm, he could only see the cultivation techniques in the jade pure jade book but could not open the heaven and earth within, let alone control Qingwei Heaven. Even so, as long as he had the jade pure jade book, he would have a higher chance of entering the martial emperor realm in the future. Furthermore, he could cultivate the top-tier cultivation techniques in the jade pure jade book right now. Chapter 24:13. Su Zimo said, "The true test left behind by immortal Emperor Qinmu is actually in the Great Hall with the morning bell and evening drum. Only by receiving the baptism of the morning bell and evening drum will one not be rejected by the final pristine jade book." Lin Luo suddenly understood. Even if Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian did not tear the teleportation talisman and were not teleported away, they would not be able to obtain the pristine jade book. Lin Luo had just tried to touch the pristine jade book when she suffered a backlash. Su Zimo's consciousness roughly scanned through the pristine jade book and felt that the cultivation method recorded in it was not just a simple method of refining the body, but also had other uses. However, now was not the time to cultivate it. Where is this? Su Zimo looked around and asked softly. Before he entered the pristine Jade Book, he was in Qiankuan Academy. Now that he had exited the pristine Jade Book, he had obviously come to an unfamiliar place. He was surrounded by lofty mountains and steep ridges, with shady trees and no signs. Lin Luo pondered for a moment and said, "If I'm not mistaken, this should be the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain." Su Zimo was slightly surprised and did not know how Lin Luo had determined this. Lin Luo explained, "Before this, the inheritance of the pristine Jade Book appeared in the Supreme Firmament Immortal Domain, so the pristine Jade Book should be in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain." After a short pause, Lin Luo pointed to the surroundings and said, "Moreover, there are many peach trees in the dense forest here." Just now, Su Zimo also noticed this. The surrounding forest was densely covered with ancient trees, and there were indeed many peach trees growing in the forest. It did look a little strange. Even if there were peach trees in a normal ancient forest, there would not be so many of them around. Su Zimo frowned slightly. But what do these peach trees have to do with the Jade Heaven Immortal Realm? Lin Luo looked at Su Zimo with some surprise. Seeing that he looked confused and didn't seem to be faking it, she patiently explained, "You should know that the vitality in the heaven realm is much denser than the vitality in other stars. It's because there's a sacred tree in the center of the heavenly world called the Divine Tree. It gathers the chi of heaven and earth and connects the 9 clouds immortal region, the pure land of bliss, and the demon region." Su Zimo nodded. Back then on Dragon Abyss Star, City Lord Su Shi had once mentioned this matter to him. "Not bad," Lin Luo said, "but in fact, other than the Jianmu tree in the center of the heaven realm, the 9 heavens immortal realm, the pure land of bliss, and the demon realm all have their own spiritual grasses and immortal trees that gather the chi of heaven and earth." Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. He suddenly understood and said, "I heard that the pure land of bliss has 3 sacred trees, and the demon region also has the immortal tree." Lin Luo smiled and said, "In the 9 heavens immortal realm, there are also immortal trees that gather the chi of heaven and earth. For example, in the divine cloud immortal realm where you are, there is a black frost plum tree. It is said that this tree absorbs the coldest chi of heaven and earth. Thousands of miles around the plum tree are covered in ice and frost, and there are no signs of life. In the Qing Shao immortal realm, there is a fairy willow. It survived the great calamity and was reborn from the lightning. It is even stronger than before." At this point, Lin Luo paused for a moment before continuing, "Just now, in the first hall of the Jade Clear Hall, I once fought with you over a branch." Su Zimo nodded. It was true. However, he got the branch first, and Lin Luo did not continue to fight with him. The two of them separated immediately after touching each other, and there was no more intense conflict. Lin Luo smiled and said, "The branch you got was actually a branch of the immortal willow." "I see." Su Zimo recalled the scene at that time. The reason he took the branch was because Qinglian's real body had a reaction and wanted to devour it. Now it seemed that the branch was a treasure of the same level as the carefree tree trunk. Su Zimo thought for a while and said, "So, the immortal tree in the Jade Cloud immortal realm should be a peach tree? To be precise, it is an ancient immortal peach tree." Lin Luo said, "It is also because of this immortal peach tree that there are many peach trees in the Jade Cloud immortal realm." Su Zimo asked, "Where are immortal trees like the Black Frost plum tree? I have been in the Divine Cloud immortal realm for so many years. Why have I never seen them?" Lin Luo smiled and said, "Such immortal trees are naturally hidden deep in the various imperial palaces. They are heavily guarded, and there are even immortal kings and imperial emperors guarding them. For example, the Black Frost plum tree is in the Divine Cloud Palace, and the immortal peach tree is in the depths of the Jade Cloud Palace. Usually, there is no chance to see them." After a pause, Lin Luo continued, "However, the various immortal realms will hold their own heaven roll competition. At that time, various factions and prodigies will be invited to gather in the imperial palaces, and there may be a chance to come into contact with these immortal trees. If you can be ranked on the heaven roll, you may have a chance to obtain some benefits from these immortal trees. You must know that these immortal trees are all nurtured by heaven and earth, and each has its own spirituality. Regardless of whether it is the leaves or the fruits, they are all rich in essence and powerful, and have an unimaginable effect on cultivation. Su Zimo nodded. The Heaven Roll competition was not only about fighting for a title, but also rich rewards and rewards. Back then, he had obtained many opportunities during the Earth Roll competition, and even completely repaired the prison-suppressing cauldron. Because of this, he was able to turn danger into safety during the trip to the Avicii Hell and play a huge role. What are your plans? Su Zimo asked. I want to return to the Azure Firmament Immortal Realm as soon as possible, and let my father try these 2 treasures and see if they are effective. Lin Luo looked at Su Zimo with faint anticipation in her eyes and said, If you have nothing to do, why don't you come with me to the Azure Firmament Immortal Realm? If my father and mother know that an old friend from the Tianhuang region has ascended, they will be very happy. Su Zimo had gained a lot this time, and originally wanted to return to the Qiankuan Academy to cultivate in seclusion again. However, when he thought of seriously injuring the human emperor and fairy Linglong, a trace of worry arose in his heart. If he could see fairy Linglong, he could ask some questions that had been lingering in his heart all these years. Lin Luo saw Su Zimo hesitating and smiled and said, There is no rush to decide. No matter what, we have to find a teleportation array first. If we rely on foot, whether it is the Divine Firmament Immortal Realm or the Azure Firmament Immortal Realm, it will take at least 100 years. Su Zimo heaved a sigh of relief and said, That's right. Lin Luo took out a map from her storage bag and carefully compared it. Such teleportation arrays that could cross the immortal realms were very rare. In the Divine Firmament Immortal Realm, only the 3 great immortal kingdoms, the 4 great immortal sects, and the Divine Firmament Palace had such teleportation arrays. The closest teleportation array to this place should be here. Lin Luo pointed at the symbol of an ancient city on the map and said, Langfeng City. Su Zimo looked at the ancient city and softly read it out. Lin Luo nodded and said, The Jade Firmament Immortal Realm is also known as the White Jade Capital. There is a poem saying that the White Jade Capital in the sky has 12 buildings and 5 cities. Immortals touch my head and tie my hair to immortality. Langfeng City is one of the 5 cities. End of chapter. Chapter 24:14. White Jade Capital, 5 cities, 12 towers? Suddenly, Su Zimo recalled the secret skill that Lang Chanxian used and fell into deep thought. As if she could read Su Zimo's mind, Lin Luo said, The secret technique that Lang Chanxian used is called White Jade Capital. Although Lang Chanxian is the princess of the Jade Cloud Celestial Realm, her mother is from the Jade Cloud Celestial Realm. That's why she knows this secret technique. No wonder. Su Zimo nodded. The 2 of them chatted for a while. Lin Luo took out a spirit boat from her storage bag and invited Su Zimo to board. They headed toward Langfeng City. The 2 of them stood at the bow of the boat, facing the wind. They looked down at the mountains and rivers under their feet and felt a sense of novelty. Su Zimo naturally did not need to be mentioned. This was his first time leaving the Divine Cloud Celestial Realm. Lin Luo was born in the Heaven Realm and knew a lot of things. However, this was also her first time in the Jade Cloud Celestial Realm. Moreover, she was younger than Su Zimo and was more curious. She looked around with excitement in her eyes. In the blink of an eye, the 2 of them had been traveling for half a day. Lin Luo stretched out her hand and counted with her fingers. Suddenly, she said, It seems that the Jade Cloud Celestial Realm is going to hold the Feast of Peaches soon. The Feast of Peaches? Su Zimo was slightly surprised. Lin Luo explained, The Feast of Peaches is similar to the Divine Cloud Celestial Meeting in your world. It is a grand gathering of cultivators from various forces in the Jade Cloud Celestial Realm. It will be held in the middle of the 5 cities. It will be very lively. During the Feast of Peaches, the Heaven List will be selected. I wonder which city will the Feast of Peaches be held in, Lin Luo murmured thoughtfully. At this moment in the sky not far away, a huge warship broke through the clouds and sped over. The worship was dozens of feet long and about 100 feet tall. It had 7 floors and looked very grand. It could easily accommodate thousands of people. Runes were engraved all around the worship, forming an airtight protective barrier. The spirit boat that Su Zimo and Lin Luo were on seemed extremely small and ordinary compared to the worship. Dozens of figures stood on the deck of the worship. The person in the lead was a young man. His white robe was spotless, and he was dressed meticulously. His hair was neatly combed, and there was a sheathed long sword hanging from his waist. He looked quite handsome and unrestrained. Su Zimo glanced over. On the warship, the young man was a rank 9 celestial immortal. As for the others on the deck, their cultivation levels were not very high either. Most of them were either earth immortals or celestial immortals. Wherever this warship passed, its aura was not small, but in the eyes of Su Zimo and Lin Luo, it was nothing. Lin Luo was the daughter of the human emperor and fairy Linglong. Any army of self-cultivators that she could summon would be much more powerful than this warship. Su Zimo came from the Heaven and Earth Academy, which was also a sky-level sect in the divine firmament celestial realm. If there were no perfected immortals on this warship, it could at most be considered a sky-level sect. It was not worthy of their attention at all. The people on the warship obviously noticed Su Zimo and Lin Luo. The young man's eyes lit up when he saw Lin Luo. After pondering for a while, he cupped his fists and said loudly, "Fellow Taoists, you must be going to Lang Feng City to participate in the Immortality Peach Banquet, right?" Su Zimo nodded slightly and answered casually, "The Immortality Peach Banquet is in Lang Feng City?" Lin Luo's eyes flashed with a hint of slyness. No one knew what she was thinking. The young man smiled and continued, "I'm Liang Yu of the Mystic Mirror sect. If you don't mind, why don't you board the warship? We can travel together." This. Su Zimo hesitated and looked at Lin Luo beside him. Lin Luo was thinking about something at this time and was a little absent-minded. The young man called Liang Yu hurriedly said, "The journey to Lang Feng City will definitely not be peaceful. Fellow Taoists, if you encounter some demon bandits, I'm afraid it won't bode well for you. It will be much safer if you travel with our Mystic Mirror sect." Su Zimo frowned. Demon bandits? How could there be demon bandits in the Jade Firmament celestial realm? At this moment, Lin Luo laughed and said, "Sure, thank you for the invitation, fellow Taoist Liang." Su Zimo did not know what Lin Luo was thinking, but he did not care. He remained silent and walked toward the warship with Lin Luo. Liang Yu cast a spell, and the barrier around the warship shook slightly and cracked open a gap that was enough for Su Zimo and Lin Luo to pass through. After boarding the warship, Su Zimo sized up Liang Yu. The young man did not seem to have any ill intentions, but his gaze swept past Lin Luo from time to time. "How should I address you, fellow Taoist?" Liang Yu asked with a gentle expression and a smile. Just as Su Zimo was about to speak, Lin Luo suddenly said, "I'm Lin Luo, and he's Lin Zimo. We're Tao companions." The corner of Su Zimo's mouth twitched, but he did not say anything. Although Lin Luo was young, he was extremely cautious and did not reveal his true name and background, as though he had some reservations. Naturally, Su Zimo would not take the initiative to reveal it as well. Hearing the words Tao companions, a look of disappointment flashed across Liang Yu's eyes. But soon he returned to normal and asked, "If I'm not wrong, you two should be itinerant cultivators, right?" "That's right." Lin Luo nodded. Liang Yu pondered and said, "If the two of you don't mind, why don't you join my Mystic Mirror sect? My Mystic Mirror sect is quite famous in the Jade Firmament Immortal domain." "Can the two of us?" Lin Luo seemed to be in disbelief and asked tentatively. "Of course." Liang Yu hurriedly nodded and said, "Although Master is not here, as the eldest senior brother of the Mystic Mirror sect, I can accept the two of you as my disciples on behalf of Master. Fellow Taoist Su, if you have any questions about your cultivation in the future, you can ask me." A strange feeling arose in Su Zimo's heart. Liang Yu addressed her as fellow Taoist Su, but his eyes were looking at Lin Luo. After all, in Liang Yu's knowledge, Lin Luo's name was Su Luo. Lin Luo seemed to be a little hesitant. Behind Liang Yu, another cultivator of the Mystic Mirror sect said, with Senior Brother's guidance, it can be considered an opportunity in your life. You must seize it well. Senior Brother is already the strongest person in our Mystic Mirror sect. This time, you'll definitely become famous in one fell swoop and enter the heaven ranking. Su Zimo frowned slightly. According to this person, Liang Yu was the strongest person in the Mystic Mirror sect. The Mystic Mirror sect was too weak. How could such a mystic rank sect have some fame in the Jade Firmament immortal domain? Or was it that this Liang Yu was just blowing his own trumpet? All right. Lin Luo agreed with a smile and said, "Thank you, Senior Brother Liang Yu. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."